Okay, welcome everyone. I have day 2. I have been sending out more emails and more links. I know a lot of you are still coming on because we've been getting a flurry of people signing on today. We had over 25 registrants this morning, so I know people are really interested in what we're talking about, which is good. So welcome one, welcome all. And we just gonna keep waiting for more people to come on board. But while we do so, because we had to start a little bit late because we had to refresh our broadcast link, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Lori to all of you because you just really need to know what a wonderful person she is and what she's doing. In fact, let me start by showing you her fantastic book that later on we're going to be having giveaways about. She wrote this book, and anyone that loves music and is really passionate about music like we are understand how amazing it is that someone took the time out to pour out her heart into what she loves. And yet it's also crafted for people like us that are talking about STEM, the arts and science coexisting. Yes, to develop creative people. Anyone knows that if you're a creative person, there's some element of you expressing yourself. Maybe you're writing, or even if you're not a musician, there's something about music. It also sparks the way you think, the way you express yourself. And she poured this in here so that she could develop her students. Everybody who I've shared this with has come back with so many stories. In fact, I was just telling her before we came live that there was a school where I did a training at Magodo, or close to Magodo area here in Lagos. And the teacher was completely blown away when I shared her videos and shared the book with him because he was amazed that his students will be able to, particularly those who are really interested in space, interested in science, they'll be able to combine that love they have with music. And it's exciting music at that. So just imagine bringing it all together. I met her at the Women in STEM conference at Atlanta in November last year. And she came because she's interested in this connection between the arts and science, which we call STEAM now. And she came to come meet other women in STEM and also to share the ideas that she had and, of course, learn new things that other people were doing. And I think it was the second day we met. Yes, it was the second day. And the moment we started talking and I started sharing about what I was doing and how we immediately saw a connection that, wow, imagine being able to bring this back to Africa, to share this with our children here so that that love they have for music can express itself with their fascination with space. So she's going to talk about that today, and she's going to tell you more about all the work she's been doing and how you can also adapt and infuse. A lot of people are telling you welcome in the comments. Yes, how you can infuse this into your own classrooms, into your schools, because like I was telling her in my emails, I see we have some school owners who are really interested in adapting music, but they want things that are exciting. They're tired of the same old, same old. Well, she's going to give you fantastic stuff. So without much ado, welcome Lori Arthur, okay?
Thank you, Adetola. I have a quick request. Can you go back to yesterday's link and put a note to check for today's link? Because I think
of course
people are over there wondering where we are.
Okay, I'll do that right now. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you in her able hands. And
okay, thank you, everybody. Today we're going to talk about STEM in the music classroom with rockets and space exploration. I just want to thank Adetola and her team for making this online STEM conference possible for educators, administrators, and parents in Nigeria and internationally. And I want to send a personal thank you to my family and my friends and my colleagues who have logged on and registered and are attending. I want to say hi to my colleagues in the Air Force Association, to the teacher liaisons with the Space Force, and to my friends at NASA STEM, and also to all of my music educator friends. So thanks so much for coming out. Today, I want to share with you how I incorporated space exploration into my music classroom and the results that I got. Now, I'm going to do a screen share, and I really hope it works. So, Adatola, you come back and tell me if you can't see my screen. Okay, give me a minute. Share. All right, I hope you can see it. If you can't, I need you guys to tell me. I am passionate about creating a STEM pipeline for students starting at a young age. Currently, I teach on YouTube. All right. For 7 years, I taught music classes to homeschool students as an independent contractor in Augusta, Georgia, in the United States of America. Before that, I taught music in a private school in Jacksonville, Florida. Teaching homeschool students as an independent contractor had a lot of similarities to teaching in a traditional school. However, it offered a lot more flexibility and freedom with curriculum choice, as you will soon discover. I have a strong background as a performer, having studied opera and classical voice in university at a music conservatory. I have a master's degree in education, in music education, K through 12. I sing in church and community choirs. In December of 2019, I became a teacher liaison with the Space Foundation in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I currently serve as the Vice President of Aerospace Education with the Savannah Air Force Association. A few years ago, a paradigm shift occurred in my teaching. In one of my classes, I taught beginning recorder to middle school students. And I know in Nigeria, you call middle school junior secondary school, I believe. And they're students aged 10 through 13. My middle school students had never had recorder lessons before. And beginning recorder literature is typically written for much younger students, maybe 8-year-olds. My students, being older, were not as interested in it as I had hoped. I wanted them to learn how to read music notation while playing the recorder. My students were not engaging at the level that I really wanted to see them at with the material. Folk songs like Mary Had a Little Lamb and Hot Cross Buns were not keeping their attention. They weren't practicing at home effectively, if at all. During this time, 2 things happened. 1, I became a space fan. My oldest son had recently changed his major in college from mechanical engineering to commercial space operations. I didn't know anything about that field at first, and then I looked into it. It's a very robust, cutting-edge career field. Some of what I learned includes mission control, rocket manufacturing, satellites, propulsion, human factors, and orbital mechanics. As I learned more from reading websites along with watching YouTube videos, I was able to chat with my son about what he was learning in college. It became a quest to find common ground so that I could have a real conversation with him and connect. The other thing that happened is my students shared their love of Star Wars with me. And in this slide that I have right now in the upper corner, I have a picture of me standing at a display case at Disney World in Florida in front of the Star Wars Millennium Falcon space ship. Because my students were such big space Star Wars fans, I got that picture for them, which I put on the wall in my music classroom. I did go to Disney on this trip with my younger son, and I was chaperoning his class around. Putting this picture on the wall in my music classroom earned me some street cred. One day, when my students were chatting about Star Wars before class, in an effort to rein them in and get them ready for recorder class, I decided to tell them about current launch vehicles, like the Falcon 9 reusable rockets that a company called SpaceX used. My students were riveted. They were right here. I had never seen them get that excited about recorder music. And it was an interesting data point because I could figure out that they can get excited about something. Then we had our music class, and I saw the same thing I was seeing before: disinterest and not being excited about the music. On the drive home that day, I was assessing my classes, and I wondered, would my students be more engaged in their recorder music if they had music about space and rockets? I searched online for recorder music about space and rockets, and I even went to the NASA STEM website, which is wonderful, but I couldn't find what I was looking for. NASA did have a musical on their STEM website, and it is about the solar system, but the music was for high school students, and it was too difficult for my recorder students. I was running out of time. I taught school every Friday, and it was Wednesday, and I still hadn't developed this next lesson plan. And so I wasn't able to order something online and wait for it to come, only to discover it was inappropriate, too hard, not the right thing. I did it myself. I created my own space-themed music. I said to myself, this can't be that hard. It's not rocket science. I'll just compose my own music that is appropriate and the correct level for my class. It was a hit. My students loved it. I printed out colorful space pictures. I wrote short, easy, accessible pieces for them to play on the recorder. And we started each class by looking at the pictures. It had a nice visual arts element to it. I'd give them a bit of information about the picture, about space tourism or spacesuits for going outside the ISS. And then we'd transition to the music. They were much more focused. They were ready to dive in to their music lesson. They wanted to look ahead and see all of the pictures in the notebooks that I had prepared. However, they had to be able to read the music and play it well enough before we could turn the pages as a class. This is where I saw their leadership qualities coming up. They began mentoring their classmates and reminding them how to play something correctly, how to not play in the rests, and repetition and revision was accepted as motivation to earn the right to turn the page and earn the reward, which was learning more about space exploration. They were learning their music skills, and they didn't even know it. For me, I was composing music every week. My students loved the space themes. I taught them how to spot the International Space Station in the night sky using very, very rudimentary geometry skills. And I told them about the ISS Spotter app, which I encourage you all to get. It's wonderful. In February of 2018, we watched the highly anticipated SpaceX Falcon Heavy demo launch, where a Tesla Roadster was launched as a dummy payload, along with Starman, the mannequin, wearing the cool SpaceX suit. I really hope that you were able to catch some of the publicity about this event. Just over 2 years ago, it was such an amazing technological feat. So, not one to let a good opportunity slide by, I composed 6 pieces about Starman, and each one got a tiny bit more difficult to play. My students were ready and willing to keep at it and practice and improve so that they could get to the next piece in the Starman suite. This historic launch elicited amazing discussions in class about the future of space travel, isolation, and being away from family and loved ones. And who would have known that 2 years later, we would be in this global pandemic where a lot of those themes were affecting us all. We were reaching our stride, developing a great groove for the school year. My students were learning how to read music and play an instrument well beyond what I ever thought possible when I was using folk songs and nursery songs. They were playing the recorder better and they were practicing at home. I began asking for their input about song titles so I could incorporate recorder pieces with lyrics. One of my students asked, "Is there sound in space?" Well, I didn't know, so I looked it up. I went to the NASA website, I took notes, I summarized them, and I thought, well, this is way too long. How am I going to put this into a song? And then I wrote rhyming lyrics. Composing music and lyrics was taking up a lot of my time each week. Just call me Space Mozart. I asked my students to look things up themselves. And this is how I got middle school boys to write rhyming poetry about the moon. They did their own research on the NASA website, and they wrote super cool lyrics about skate parks on the moon and moon hangtime vacation. One student even asked me how astronauts barf in space. Now, I hope that that's a word that you use in Nigeria, but if not, it means to regurgitate or throw up. It's a lovely topic that a 10-year-old boy would want to know about. However, I had just been reading about that very topic with Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield and American astronaut Scott Kelly. Nausea in space is a real thing as the body adapts to zero G. So I wrote a song and I titled it Barfing in Space. The rhymes were produced by a gleeful 9-year-old boy and his sisters, and he is one of 8 children. Debuting that song in class was amazing. I gave them a bit about the inner ear and nausea and how zero G, living in zero G with no gravity can cause your inner ear to get confused and you can have nausea. We laughed a lot as we sang through that song, and then we played it on the recorder. And Barfing in Space is on my YouTube channel. If you are interested and want to check it out, please go do so. My students asked their parents to take them on space field trips to NASA centers, like the Neutral Buoyancy Lab at Houston's Johnson Space Center. Their tour guide asked them, "How come you kids know so much about space?" And they told him, "We learned about space in our music class." Isn't that amazing? It's a proud STEM moment. In the summer of 2018, I had a stack of recorder space-themed music. I began the process of publishing my rocket recorder material, and in May of 2019, I had my book published. And if you were with us at the beginning of the broadcast, you saw Adetola hold up a copy of my published book of all the songs, not all of them, some of the songs that I wrote for my students. I also have an ebook which is available on Amazon and Amazon International. So if you are interested, you can get that right away. And the hard copy book is available on Amazon as well. I've spent the last 11 months working to get Rocket Recorder in the hands of educators. I've sent my book to several STEM and music teachers in 13 states in America. It's in Canada, and I've sent it to the United Kingdom, where my family used to live, and it is being taught at the school that my younger son attended in Wales. And it's also in Nigeria because of Adetola and her program. So I want to give a shout out to Adetola. I'm so glad that we met at the conference for the Global Women in STEM Leadership in Atlanta. And I'm just overwhelmed to think that my book that I wrote for my students here in Augusta, Georgia, is now being enjoyed internationally. These educators that I've shared my book with are piloting my program with their students. I want to tell you about some of these pilot programs. One of the pilot programs is in Pennsylvania with a music teacher, and she teaches not only mainstream students, but she also teaches students with special needs. And she has a class that is for middle school age students in the life skills class. And they don't use this book with their recorders, but they use it as an accessible sight reading book for singing. And they also use the colorful images as grammar prompts, where they have to give 4 adjectives to their teacher that describe what's happening in the pictures. And they get to tell stories and use great descriptive words to tell what's going on in the pictures. And they are learning about space and music. I had no idea that a teacher would take my book and use it in such a way that would reach more students and bring them into the STEM field in a way that I just never imagined. And teachers are so creative, and I'm so excited that they are taking this material and running with it. I want to tell you about some of my results. I wanted my students to learn how to read music and play the recorder. They did. Mission accomplished. But they learned so much more. They engaged in music class. They spent time at home researching about the moon, and they went on self-appointed field trips to NASA centers. They engaged in language arts by writing rhyming poetry. They had friendly competitions about which poem was better, asking which one I would choose first to turn into a song. And they learned about space and rockets. They used math to spot the International Space Station. They discussed long-term space flight, and they learned a little bit about commercial space companies that require engineering to manufacture rockets. And they learned about the technology required to communicate with astronauts in low Earth orbit and beyond. They learned about STEM in their music class. They took charge of their own education and learning by actively participating in it, and they embraced the organic, across the curriculum STEM learning. I want to give you 2 stories about 2 students of mine. One of them was a pre-K student. She was 4 years old, and she was very quiet and very shy. And she did not participate very much in my class, but her mother told me she was a Star Wars fan. I owe a lot to Star Wars. So I told her one day we were going to learn about rockets, because right now we couldn't fly around in spaceships like the Millennium Falcon, but we had reusable rockets. And her eyes just perked right up, and she was interested. So I shared with her a song that's on my YouTube channel called I'm a Little Rocket. And I shared it with the whole class. And this young girl sat in the circle. She participated beautifully. And it was really the first time I saw her come out of her shell. We even made rocket noises in class. And then we watched a short video of rockets. She was so excited, and she loved the content of class that day. And after class, she came up to me And remember, this was a child who never spoke to me. And she said, Mrs. Orth, when I grow up, I want to become a rocket scientist. And I am so excited that she learned and was exposed to space exploration in a comfortable environment in her music class. And that seed got planted for her to go on into looking into STEM and learning more about space exploration. I have another story about another one of my students. One of my middle school students struggled with sound sensitivities, and that's hard when you're in a music classroom. And he just blossomed when we started this voyage, this journey using space exploration in the music classroom. He participated more in the discussions, and he came up with some incredible ideas. And in one of our discussions about long-term space flight to Mars, he said, you know, Mrs. Orth, we just need to create a portal to Mars. And I thought, that's a lyric, that's gonna go in a song. So that line is in my song entitled Starman 6. And I say, where is Michael's portal to Mars? So if we have time after in the Q&A section, ask me about some of my strategic initiatives that I have going with the NASA STEM program. All right. This year, I've been building out my website to include free things. I've got some downloadable worksheets, some PDF pointing pages, and I have an audio gallery where you can hear some of the songs that are in the workbook. I do have a YouTube channel with videos of some of the space songs from the book, and each video has a space lesson and a music lesson so that you can experience that combining of two very contrasting disciplines yourself and see what it's like and see the seamless transition into the music classroom from the space content. My goal with my YouTube channel is to give educators the tools that they need to teach space along with the music content and to facilitate effective practice at home. I've got a great song in the free stuff portion of my website that I told you about. It's the I'm a Little Rocket, and there's a lesson plan, and there's also a pointing page, which is basically it's a placemat, and you can print it off. And if you're a teacher, you could print off enough copies for every student to have one. And I laminated them, and then we pointed at each thing as we sang about it. It's all explained in the video called I'm a Little Rocket, and it is very accessible for homeschooling or for teachers of young students. So I encourage you to check that out and jump in and get on the bandwagon of teaching space exploration through music. All right, let me turn this last one. You are invited to contact me through LinkedIn or my website. And on my website, you have to scroll down to the very bottom of the homepage, and I have a contact me link. You can reach me there. And I am also available to schedule webinars for you, for your colleagues, for your administrators, if you are interested in this and want some more information about how you can use it in your classroom. So I look forward to collaborating with you and your peers to build a pipeline of young people to become future STEAM leaders and STEM leaders. So you heard Adetola talk about the term STEAM at the beginning, and STEAM is a term that is very similar to STEM, but the A in STEAM is for the arts. So it's science, technology, engineering, the arts, and humanities, and mathematics. So that's where my material falls. All right, I am done with my presentation. I'm going to go back to not sharing the screen, and then we will do some Q&A. So fingers crossed this will work. Okay. So Adetola, are there any questions? I don't know. So hang in there. We're going to wait until Adetola comes back. Hopefully she can give me some of your questions. Yay, it's working.
Okay. Okay, I'm back. William was also enjoying your. Yeah, he was. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Oh my God, what's going on?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, yeah, William was also listening to your broadcast. And he like he's a music lover too. So yeah, he was enjoying it too.
Great.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let me start reading out comments. And then, of course, there are some questions here. There are a lot of welcomes to you. So I'm going to. Oh, yes. Edward says Rocket Recorder. He loves the title of your book. Isn't it awesome? I told you when I saw it, I was blown away too. And Mrs. Akinwere says, good day and thanks for yesterday's presentations. Thank you, ma'am. Celia says, welcome, Laurie. And Tujo says, thanks for excellent production yesterday. Yes. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead and say Mrs. Abiola. She said, great initiative, your program. This will surely impact the young people. Yes. Mr. Hood, Edward Hood says, your presentation was really informative. I told them it was going to be really good. It was things that they could take back and work with. And yeah, Demola says he was blown away by the impact of your music, your project, that this is the true spirit of science and learning. Thank you for shining the light. I know I had seen a new question. Thank you, Adeni. All right, so Mr. Edwards said, what is the process to roll out this type of platform into local schools? So he wants to know what you have done in Georgia so that he could learn from that about how this can be done here in Nigeria.
My concept is that this would go through the music teacher, that the music teacher would have this and do it in his or her classroom and collaborate with the STEM teachers in the building. I would love it if you could get the 4th, 5th, 6th grade teachers to work with the music teacher, pending what the schedule for the year looks like. If they have the opportunity to use this material for a couple weeks, a month, that would be great, where they go into the music classroom, they learn 4, 5, or 6 songs. Then when they're back in their regular classrooms, they're learning about space exploration. I don't know if that'll always line up. I know in America we have standards and they have to teach certain subjects at certain times of the year. And so space content might only be offered 1 week. Well, could you get that 1 week to be where the music teacher is giving it as well? Maybe. I taught it the whole year long because it was my program and I could do whatever I wanted.
Of course.
So in schools where they have more flexibility, you can teach it as long as you want it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's like, here's a STEM book, but I want the music teacher to teach it. And the neat thing is there's pictures so that there is a visual prompt, and the music teacher doesn't have to know all the space content. I know the space content because I'm a space fan, but it's almost it's a good thing if the teacher doesn't know the answers, because then they can say to the student, look it up. That's the whole point. I didn't know all the answers either, and I sent my kids to the NASA websites. So if the teacher doesn't know the answer and they have this constant, go look that up after school, come back and tell us about it next time. That's the whole point. It makes them go do.
Yeah, it does. That was exactly the point I was making to the music teacher where I did a training around Magodo, that's here in Lagos last year, that he should somehow try to work with the science teacher. Like when the science teacher was teaching about space, make that connection, okay, we're talking about this planet, and then here she is, she's already created music around that theme. Have the children now carry that out in the music room. We discussed about that. I'm hopeful that he followed through because I gave him the links to the videos. Like I said, I also gave, because he was so excited, I was excited. I know it's hard that synergy sometimes can be really hard. But I really would prefer that our teachers start seeing it, that they need to start working together. There needs to be collaboration. But let's keep being hopeful. Let's see, do we have any other questions? Okay, so Mrs. Otu just says, Laurie, your presentation is excellent. I told you guys. And Ladine Householder said, excellent presentation, very clearly stated. She's one of your folks. Yes, she's good. And Mr. Lumide says, nice concept, well done. Okay, guys, ask her hands-on questions about this so that you can start going back and start looking at immediately how you can work on this with the children. I know I woke up, I think it was a couple of days ago, and one of the children here in my neighborhood was playing on the recorder. And I'm not a music person. I remember, yes, William said he remembers too. And I was saying, I'm not a music teacher, but I wish I was at that point, because I could have said, why don't you try some of this and let me demonstrate to you how this sounds like and how you could do this. At that moment, I wished I was. All I could think about was this when I was listening to that child. And that's one of the things we need to start inculcating, is them being creative by using means like this. So that's what I want to hear. Sorry, go ahead, Laurie. You wanted to say something. Go. Yes.
One of the things that I would like, and I write it in the front of the book, so it's not like you have to remember this. It's in the front part of the book. That teachers can give the students prompts and they can rewrite lyrics. I have a very easy song at the beginning called Space Dog, and it's about Space Dog going to the moon. Well, write your own verse. Where else could Space Dog go? And then you get into the language arts about rhyming, and it's 8 measures of music. It's very short, but the students can change 1 or 2 words, and they can either just off the top of their head, or they can go read it or have something read to them about that. Something that I want to share with you, Adetola, if you want to then send it out.
Please go ahead.
Is I have lots of links for free content from the NASA STEM program. And they're very good. They have long PDFs. They're like 75 pages with coloring books, word searches, and it's all about the space program. So they're free, and I'll send you those links that you can share with everybody.
Wow. See, anybody who is tuned in right now and sends me an email saying that you are part and you participated in Laurie's program, you're going to get that PDF. When I was sending out emails, I told people, participate. This is where now you're going to gain from doing that. This book is so rich, guys. You have no idea. In fact, I was just remembering when I was teaching in middle school, how amazing this would have been if I was a science teacher and then I was working with a music teacher, because she talks about creating bulletin boards in the classroom around space themes, STEM to STEAM, and featuring the students' work, the notes that they write, and of course the rhymes and the music they're going to create from her work here. And she has so many links and a lot of videos on her YouTube channel. So guys, you should go and subscribe on her YouTube channel too. Did you share that link already?
It was one of my pages.
Okay, good.
It's Laurie Orth, music teacher. Laurie Orth, music teacher.
Music teacher. Guys, go and subscribe. You're going to get so much richness there. I know when I shared it with that music teacher, he was blown away. Okay, let me see. I just want to show them some pictures too. Isn't that lovely? Look at that. She has the most amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
Email me and I'll do webinars. If people are like, how do I use this? They're interested. Let's do a Zoom call and I'll talk them through it. And their administrators, if they want to get their teachers and their administrators on, I am happy to do that. That's one of the silver linings of this whole pandemic is everybody's online. That's how come we're here. And
yes, so that's how we can work it.
Share with other teachers who want to learn about it.
Any school administrators, any school teachers who are online right now, anybody that's in the area of early childhood development, like my aunties that are both here, she's giving you an opener that she's willing to work with you and listen to you and see what can be done. As she's correctly saying, this is the time to strike while it's hot right now during this time of the pandemic. There's so much that could be done together. And imagine being able to carry back the concepts that she has here. And the recorder is something that easily, without being too bulky, even the little ones can carry around and start working on and immediately start creating their own music. So I can't think of anything else that as fabulous as this. So please make sure you send messages here and also respond back to the emails that we've sent to you so that you can be in touch with her. So any more questions, guys? I'm going to also post questions so that anybody else that has questions, they can tell us. I can only imagine if I was a science teacher right now, how fantastic this would be. I already know that we're going to be utilizing a lot of this when we are rolling out our STEAM programs here. So that one, there's no question about how we're going to work and talk together in regards to that. I just wanted people who are also working in the development space, like Ms. Otujo and Mrs. Akinwari and other teachers who are working with children in local schools, be able to say something here. And so far, they're being silent right now. Okay, guys, just send out emails. Follow her on her, oh, so sorry, not follow her. Subscribe on her YouTube channel. That way you can send her direct messages and talk to her about creating webinars and anything else. Do you have any parting words for them before you leave?
That if you think that this is a crazy idea, I agree. It is. It is crazy, but it works. Whoever would have thought that the contrasting disciplines of music and space exploration would make both of those things better for students? But it does. It did. It does. And I would encourage you, because the students really embraced it, and they weren't just showing up and learning like by rote. They were digging in, and it was fun, and everybody was emotionally involved, myself included. And it was such a fun year to be able to do this kind of music. Took it to a whole different level. It was out of this world.
Which it is. It is out of the world. That's what it is. Okay, everyone. Oh, okay. Someone's about to say something. Good. We have questions coming in. Oh my God. All right. So yes, Mrs. Akinware is interested. She's definitely interested in getting in touch with you. She is an early child's champion. She's been doing a lot of things in the early child's space here in Nigeria for the past 20 years. She's gone to China promoting the cause. So believe me, both of you are going to find that you're like minds. Let's see. She's giving me her email. I'm going to connect you guys. So that one I have no idea. All right. Very good. Olumide says they are also interested for their foundation, and they would like to get in touch with you too. Let's see. Celia says she's an early years educator too, so she would like to get in touch with you. Somebody has a question. I knew you wouldn't be able to leave without more questions. I just knew it. He said, how do we teach with the recorder? He wants to know. I'm not a music person. Let her answer that. So please go ahead. There's another question after that, but start with that one.
If you're not a music teacher and don't have access to a music teacher, what I would like to do is make a YouTube video for you. The recorder is not that difficult, but if you are going to be the teacher teaching it and you're not a music teacher, then we need to do some work. And it's totally doable, but you'll have to agree to take some lessons. And I'll put it online, and I know you can do it. If you can teach science, you can learn how to play the recorder. You can. Yes. So that's how we'll do it. I'll put some videos out there. There's lots of videos out there about the recorder. Not all of them are nuts and bolts, like here's how you do it from the beginning. I do have a couple beginner videos out on my channel already, so you can check that out, and then we can go forward and make some more videos about how to do it.
Olamide, I hope you heard everything she said. First of all, please remember, go on her YouTube channel, subscribe so that you can see what she's doing in the recorder, and then you'll be able to duplicate that back with your students in your classrooms. Okay. Please make sure you do that. It's really important that our children have music. One of my regrets now, I was talking about that with William, I think that was like a couple of months ago, it's not being able to play the piano, not being able to read music. I feel like that was one deficiency from my childhood, and I started out doing that. I think I dropped out of music. Yeah, because that's what it was. I dropped out of music class when I was either 11 or 12. And looking back now, because I love music so much, I don't understand why that happened. So I don't want you teachers to miss out on that for your children. Okay, so John asks, what were some of the biggest impacts that this had on the students, your program? Thank you, John, for tuning in. Thank you.
My students, I don't want to paint the picture that they were not well behaved. They were wonderful behaved students. However, they were a little squirrely when we were doing things like Mary Had a Little Lamb. I don't know if that's a Nigerian folk song too, but it's an American one, and it's for little kids. But when you're learning the recorder, you can't play harder music, so they start you with easier things. So the behavior got better when we started doing this space stuff. The kids were still like, what are we going to do today? You know, instead of like slightly off behavior, they were like, what are you going to teach us? So I loved walking into the classroom with, okay, guys, I wrote some more music. And they were like, great. Okay, you guys get your stuff out. Let's get ready to go. And I saw a lot more of that camaraderie and leadership and mentoring each other. And the older kids that were in the classroom, I had a class that had a wide age span. So the 13-year-olds could do more than the 10-year-olds. And they were going and reading things. They were leading the discussions about space travel. So I don't know if that's what you wanted to hear, but yeah.
Look, the beauty about her book is that she divides it into different sections: easy, intermediate. Let me see, because I remember that was one of the things that struck me when I was discussing with the music teacher at Magodo here in Lagos. Bingo, here it was. She divides it into the easy, advanced, intermediate. So there's something for everyone, absolutely something for everyone. Olumide wants your YouTube handle, so I'm going to type that out for him right now in the comment section, because I want them to go and subscribe immediately to your YouTube channel. Let me do that right now. I know
it's my name, Lori Orth, music teacher.
Okay, so I'm going to do that for them because I want them to go and subscribe right now.
And I have other things on there besides my space music, but I do have some playlists, and I have some things for younger kids, and yeah, you can check it out.
Guys, did you hear that? She has stuff for younger kids. There are a lot of people here who are really, really focused on early childhood development. She has stuff for you too. Okay, Auntie Otu just says, I am a community-based early childhood practitioner, like I have said. How can we use our local drums and use your program? Oh, yes. We like drumming here. So she wants to know, how can they adapt some of your music to drumming too?
Awesome. On my website right now, you can download for free the accompaniments for all of the songs. So you can play the accompaniment, and they're all jazz and Latin and really fun accompaniments. And then you can play the drums to them. And you can still start it with, here's the space picture. This song is called whatever it's called. And then you can listen to the accompaniment and you can play the drums along with it. So that's how you adapt it. And you can sing along too. Some of the songs you can sing. So get in touch with me and I'll talk you through it.
Okay, so I'm going to send out the emails for everyone who say they want to be in touch with you. I'm going to send your email to them so that they can start communicating with you. Yep. Any more questions, guys? Because she's here with a lot of experience. And you can see the passion and the drive that she has. It's enormous. Believe me, this would be a great advantage to your programs, your STEAM programs. Your children will be really, really motivated. Like she said, that's the impact I see. I know if my music teacher had been doing stuff like this, why wouldn't I have wanted to stay? Of course I would have wanted to stay. Oh, beautiful. See more thing. Okay, your website. They need your website address.
It's loriorth.com. Easy.
So let me Oh wow, a lot of people have come out of the woodworks now. Now they're saying they're interested too. Okay, so let me I've sent out the website to everyone. Oh yes, of course. Ladine wants to know who made the accompaniments.
My sister helped me with the accompaniments. My sister is also a music educator, and she is a jazz pianist, and so she created them with an app that's called iReal Pro, and you put in the different chord changes and it will play it back in all different styles. You can just play it over and over again, Latin style, pop style, jazz style, the cha-cha, bossa nova. And so that's why some of the charts are in different styles. So my sister helped me with it.
What's the name of that app, please? Could you say the name so that I can type it here for everyone?
It's iReal Pro. So like the letter I and then REAL Pro, iReal Pro.
That's the app.
That's the app that the music was composed on. You only need that if you're going to make songs. You don't need it to, I mean, you can listen to all the accompaniments without that app. Because all
Who
of
knows
it.
who's here? Yeah. Let's just keep it out there. Anyone, the music teachers here who are here, or the people who are interested in carrying this back to doing something with it, who knows? Let's just leave it there for them. That's the way I figured this. Okay, guys, more questions or say thank you to Lori. She's giving you a wealth of, not only that, she's giving you access to her too, so that she can see what you want to do in your schools, in your classrooms, in your programs. Because like I said, we have social developers here, people who are in the development space. She's giving you access so that she can work with you. The key thing that she's really, really driven and passionate about is making sure that our children are creative and they're happy doing this. So she's coming to you saying, I want to offer myself. Please make sure you appreciate this. It's sacrifice because it's her work. Okay, so please tell her thank you. If you have any more questions, just post them in the next minute or so that we can wrap up and go to our next speaker. I know she's already on. I see her in the back studio. The thing is, there'll be no questions now, and then all of a sudden the comments just start coming up fast. Let me check my other. I'm trying to follow the no. Okay, I already got a thank you. See, I think it's slower here. It's faster on my computer, my other computer. Mrs. Akinwari says, thank you, Lori, for a wonderful presentation. She's going to be one of the people that I definitely know will want to be in touch with you. She's fantastic. Like I said, she has so many years of experience, and she's so driven. Every day I must see an email in my email box from her. Something, one program she's trying to drive around early childhood development. She does not give up. And we need people like that. I'm sure you agree. We need people like that. Okay, there's no one else so far. Okay, so let's say thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to sign off, and then I'm going to get on to watch the video, the rest of your
Okay, comments. Okay. Thank you.
Bye,
Laurie. Thank you. Okay, some more people are saying thank you. This is a school owner. She's saying thank you too. She says, thank you for your enormous contributions to children and to the childhood development space. Thank you, Apemi. Thank you for signing on. Thank you. Okay, so Laurie's saying goodbye. Oh, wow. Yes, Mrs. Abosade Ogunde, you will get her contact. Okay. And thank you, Catherine, for telling Laurie thank you. Laurie is fantastic. One of the best things that happened to me was meeting her last year in Georgia. Thank you, Ezinwani. Thank you for telling her thank you. All right, I see Eritoyin too. I'm also interested in learning how to play the recorder to teach children in my school, especially in relating it to STEM. Oh, sorry, to STEAM. Okay, they're telling Laurie thank you for the presentation. Good job. Send out emails to me so that you can get links to her work, and then you can get access to that PDF that she has agreed to give to us, as well as those accompaniments that she had mentioned. And we're going to be giving copies of her books to people who participated too. This book is so rich, if only you guys knew. And she did give me copies of them when I was leaving Georgia last year. She's wonderful. Okay, so we're going to be having Esther come on. Esther has a lot of experience in the STEM space. She's been working with our youth here in Africa. I would like her to introduce herself to you. I hope you read her flyer and saw her vast experience in the innovative space. I mean, people like her are the people who are going to help us be able to drive a lot of the change that we're hopeful for across Africa, because they have so much energy and so much passion to keep pushing. So I'm going to welcome her now. Hi, Esther. Thank you so much. Oh, you're still muted.
I've already unmuted.
Wonderful.
How are you? How are you
You're
doing?
muted. Thank you.
Thank you
Esther is fantastic. Yes, I was connected to her by someone who is also in the innovative space. And when he sent me her bio and the work she has been doing, I said, wow. I was just blown away and said, please, could you join us? And she kindly said yes. because she's really busy. You hear about what she does and what she's continuing to do now, and you realize how busy she is. So please welcome her and thank her for joining us and being a part of this.
Thank you, everyone, for welcoming me here. And thank you for the invitation. It was really, during this COVID, it's very rare to see conferences going on. And actually, for me, this has helped me be able to reach out to different audiences that I would not have, as you said, the time to actually reach out to, because I'm home, everything is online, so it's really easy now, I would say. Yeah, so do you want me to go ahead and...
You're going to go ahead and tell them about yourself, what you're doing. Then if you have a presentation, you can go ahead and share that with us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go off so that you can be...
Okay, so as Adetola said, my name is Esther Kunda. I'm from Rwanda. I'm currently working for an organization called the Next Einstein Forum, and we are an organization under the Africa Institute of Mathematical Sciences. I don't know if any one of you has heard of that, but the Africa Institute of Mathematical Science is an organization that is promoting, that is basically providing education in mathematical sciences at the university level. But other than that, we do a lot of things in terms of education support. So other than our schools, our centers of excellence that give masters in education, masters in mathematical sciences, we have research centers. We also have a teacher training program that is currently only in Rwanda as well as Cameroon, where we try to equip teachers on how best to teach STEM. So I think later on, if any one of you is interested, I would link you with our director of that program. She's an amazing lady, very, very passionate about education, and especially STEM education in secondary schools. And then, of course, we have the Next Einstein Forum. And for us, what we do is we're trying to promote the scientific excellence of Africa. So one of the things, and I think some of us always asks ourselves, when you talk about Africa, you do not associate it with scientific discoveries or anything that is really globally important for us to say that we have a scientific background. But what I've seen is what we're trying to do is demystify that by promoting our scientists, some of our scientists, and we have an amazing community of scientists from all over, and some of them are actually leaders in their own industries, whether it's in health, whether it's in robotics, whether they're doing the up and coming blockchain technologies that we hear about, artificial intelligence. Some of them are doing nanotechnology, others are doing, so basically any cutting edge scientific work that is going on. Some of our fellows, and they're all Africans, are working on that and really making a dent in the world in terms of the work that they're producing. So for us, our goal is to put them on the map, but also advocate for countries and other communities to be able to say that we know that we have the capability of doing this, and we have people who are already doing this. So how can we leverage this to be able to really encourage economic growth in Africa based on science and technology? So that's what NEF does, and we do a lot of programs that include like building, bringing together, like organizing the largest scientific gathering in Africa called the Global Gathering, the NEF Global Gathering. We also have our community of science. So we also do a lot of policy work to be able to engage governments to take into consideration actually STEM, because most countries talk about STEM, they talk about science and technology, but there's no policies or there's no budgets that are backing those words. So what we try to do is create the right environment, actively advocate for increase of budgets in different areas, so that we can see some traction going. But one of the most programs that I'm really proud of is the Africa Science Week, where we organize a Science Week in almost 35 countries for the past 3 years. So what we do, so we have NEF ambassadors in each of the countries, and we go ahead and organize like a 1 week science celebration. So our ambassadors would organize coding camps in their country. They would organize hackathons. They would organize science exhibitions where they bring together companies or other young people that are innovators, that have interesting stuff that they're doing, and then put them on the map. We celebrate women in science. In some of the countries for the past 2 years, we've been able to award some of the forward-looking women in science that they have in their countries. So and it's really fun to see what happens when you start celebrating science in each country. You find out that actually there's so many interesting things. There's so many young people are very innovative, and they want to be part of the solution. They want to be part of the solution. They want to contribute solutions. And one of the ways that those solutions can be there is, what if they could find solutions using science and technology, right? So that's one of the things that that I'm very proud of that we do. So other than my normal work at the Next Einstein Forum, I'm part of a group called Girls in ICT Rwanda. And for us, of course, as a young woman and in a male-dominated field, it is very important for me to be able to see that we are trying to be role models, but also encourage other young girls to join STEM fields. So one of the things that we've been able to do, we do a lot of mentoring work, especially here in Rwanda, but we've been very fortunate to be able to organize what I'll call it's like a Pan-African competition called Miss Geek Africa. And we organize it every single year. We were very lucky that after 2 years, the government of Rwanda, actually from the onset, the government of Rwanda supported us in putting together, in terms of supporting us, cheering us on for organizing that competition. And then after a few years, we were able to get to scale that competition and make it like a Pan-African competition called Miss Geek Africa. So that is what we did through, I don't know if any of you know the Smart Africa organization, but that's one of the organizations where we've been able to grow. And one of the things that we've done with that competition is get young girls who are in secondary schools, that is between 15 years old and as well as university, so between 15 years and 25 years old, through different themes, either it's education, either it's mobility, either it's connectivity, different agriculture, any of the topics that are challenges in Africa. We ask them, look around your community, look around yourself and see what are the different problems that you see in your society. And now think through if there's any way that particular problem could be solved by ICT or technology. And most of them, we've seen several impressive solutions. But one of the biggest outcome of it is, other than the fact that they actually are able to design solutions that are viable, some of them actually are starting to get on the market. But some of the best thing that we've seen is the girls gain confidence to the fact that people listen to the solutions that they're bringing into the community. And then two, they understand they can also contribute. So because most of them are very young, so most of our winners have been between 16 and 19. So they're still very young, but at that point they discover that they're also valued members of the society, and the world is looking out to them to bring solution to solve most of our problems. So from now on, we've seen most of them go back to their countries, either in Niger, in DRC, in Djibouti, in Benin, in Mali, create all these communities where they're able to, one, create an entrepreneurship community. It's mostly in the tech community, create a women and girls tech community, and all these things. You see that the contribution that they bring after on is really valuable to the community. So I think for me, that's some of the things that I do and I'm part of, that I'm really, really passionate. But I just wanted to, I have this small presentation around my topic that they gave me, which was the global emergency. It's global urgency to improve STEM education. So just go through it very quickly. It's not very long. It's like 7 slides. Let me see how to do this. Okay. So okay. So anyway, so basically when we talk, while I'm figuring out how to share my screen, so basically what we're mostly doing,
Sorry.
I'm trying, I didn't have my privacy. Sorry?
Are you having issues with sharing your screen?
Yes.
Oh, I think you might, if it's on your laptop, click that link again to enter the broadcast, and then it will come on the other device. That's what Laurie did.
Which other device?
You're going to click the link to come into the broadcast studio. Oh, I see. Yeah, just click
It's
it again.
probably
Like,
because,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, I think my computer doesn't have that enabled. I had probably removed it. I'm trying to find how to. Anyway, so I think sorry guys.
Okay, I think we're experiencing technical difficulties for Esther. I'm sure she'll sign back on. While she's doing so, isn't it amazing the great work that she's doing over there in Rwanda, inspiring scientists? This is the work that a lot of us need to be doing here in Nigeria, not just Nigeria, in other nations where we happen to be, in Ghana. If you're in Canada, you also inspire scientists there in Canada. If you're in the US, also inspire scientists there. If you're in Australia, do the same. You need to be inspiring, aspiring as children who are coming up to be scientists. They are the ones who are going to solve the problems that we have here in the world. I mean, we're all talking about this COVID-19 pandemic, how much of an issue it is, how it has changed the landscape, economic landscape for a lot of us, how it's changed our quote unquote normal. Scientists are the ones that are battling across the globe, looking for solutions, looking for how they can create this vaccine and also understand the imports it takes on the human body. How can we avoid the ravages that it's having on us? So imagine if we had more scientists here in Africa who are going to be able to work on the solutions for this. I mean, I know I read heated debates. I believe it was far back as April and May about the Madagascar solution, the solution that they had for the COVID-19, illness, and how people were passionately debating about the WHO accepting what they have and them having to go through that rigorous screening. It's a whole scientific process, creating those solutions. And this is what we want to teach our students about, the scientific process. I remember last year when I was speaking at a conference in Princeton, I went into that conference thinking it was just going to be, okay, good, I think she's coming back on. Great. Okay. I went to that conference thinking it was just going to be, quote unquote, what do you call them? Experts, professionals, what you call them, people who are coming here to read their papers. Oh, this is what I've done. To my pleasant surprise, and I say pleasant, there were children there who are presenting presentations. Okay, good. She got what I was saying. Yes. Who are presenting presentations on findings that they had on scientific research. And those children were taught the steps of scientific, research, hypothesis, carrying out your, what's my theory, and then carrying out the practice. It was beautiful. So let's welcome back Esther.
So, okay.
Fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you. I hope everyone can see my presentation now. Okay. So in terms of this, what I just wanted to talk about is more around why and the numbers. So basically, where is the future taking us, and why should we be really focused on improving how we do STEM education, right? So today, Africa is the fastest growing continent in the world, right? And if Africa and we'll have about 450 million Africans expected to reach working age in the next 2 decades. And from that, some of the estimation are that 100 million of those people are not going to find decent work. So we already have unemployment problems, underemployment problems, and this is it's not a problem that is going to be solved any time sooner if we do not address it. But also, one of the things that is very alarming is that every single year we have 11 million young people entering the workforce. So these 11 million young people need to have jobs. They need to find work to do. They need to find something to actually do that is decent and that contributes to their normal work. And if you look globally, some of the current, when we talk about global challenges, what is going to happen in the next few years, we see that health is a very, very big global challenge, and you can talk about it. We are in COVID-19 era. The whole world is under lockdown. Some countries are trying to get out of lockdown, but then it spikes their numbers. In Africa, most of our countries are not equipped to handle large numbers of sick people. The other day, I was reading somewhere where we say that we only have one doctor per, is it 5,000 or 50,000 people in Africa? I think it's 50,000. I have to check again, but it's around that. So we don't have enough medical practitioners. We don't have the right infrastructure. If you all have been following the news, especially in Africa, you'll find that we did not have the testing kits to be able to test people who had symptoms of COVID. We did not have infrastructure in place to be able to trace their contacts. And globally, we saw a shortage of doctors who didn't have masks. But other than the current epidemics that include COVID, Ebola, etc., there's a good increase in terms of people who have not what we call non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cancer, etc., etc. So all these are health issues that are currently growing, and in Africa we are really not equipped to do anything about it at the current moment. So migration, with with the different wars going around, but also even the unemployment part, you see that most young people move out of rural areas to come to the city. The city does not have any way of dealing with of actually accommodating all these young people that are moving to cities, etc. Citizen participation, that means country's democracy, country being able to be socially involved in how your country is run, or how you live in your community, etc. Climate change, which is a very, very big problem. One of the saddest part is that Africa is going to be one of the continents that is heavily affected by climate change, but we are also the least in terms of the continent that produces the highest amount of CO2. So we're on that edge where we're not contributing that much to the problem, but you're going to be the ones that are really, really affected by this. I don't know if any of you have had, is it Lake Chad for the past few years that is almost disappearing now, because and that's because of climate change. So like there's all these things. Then mobility. And then when we talk about mobility, of course, it's transport systems, increased number of cars on the streets, but also with increased number of streets, we look at pollution of air. We look at infrastructure, like we do not have any roads that are adequate in most of African countries. The AU was saying that we need about 600,000 kilometers of, I believe, of actual road to be constructed throughout the continent, and that is a very big challenge. And then we also do not have the luxury of saying that we're going to get out of the world, right? So we've all had the term fourth industrial revolution, and that is really a revolution that is based around science-based innovations. And we've all seen the industrial era. We've all seen all the different eras that came before this fourth industrial revolution. And Africa doesn't have anything to say that we did participate in the global economy in those different eras. But we have a very big opportunity. And in the fourth industrial revolution, if I can just say, like, we've had terms like the digital economy, how like currently we're now having a conference online. I think this is 10 years ago, no one, even like 5 years ago, no one would have told you that we're going to have a successful conference online, right? When we talk about education, there's so much happening around EdTech that is turning classrooms into classrooms that are technology enabled, where the teacher is able to use, and the students are able to leverage technology to be able to have a much improved education. We have what we call carbon economy, hydrogen economy, methanol economy, bioeconomy. So all these are different economies that are based on, like, hydrogen economy is just based on actually hydrogen. It's really hydrogen and its different uses, and hydrogen can be used in different either it can be turned into electricity, it can be turned into fuel, can be turned into all these different things that fuel the industries, cars, and etc. So that becomes a whole industry on its own. So there's all these different economies based on different technologies that are built, different components of technologies that are actually now here, and that are expected to be very big in terms of global contribution to the economy. And you can see like some of these technologies that are coming up because of the fourth industrial revolution. We have artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, cyber security, Internet of Things, 3D printing, robotics, energy storage, biotechnology. Like these technologies here, they're very fun to talk about, but their science right now is very limited. Their usage is very limited. So there's like a very big opportunity for young people to go into this field so that in the next few years, they actually are the biggest contributors to that. So, and again, if we look at the education in itself and why I come back to having science-based and everything, like currently I was looking earlier on schools in Africa. 60% of world students faced school closure, and only 4 countries in Africa did not have total closure. So you can see like the map here, all these are complete total closure. So I think Burundi is the one that didn't close schools, and about 4 other countries, Benin, Congo, Madagascar, this is Ivory Coast, also did not, only did like localized closing of schools. So this has affected mostly Africa, this lack of technology, this lack of us having like enough understanding of having actually the capability to do this. Because if you saw in other areas, like in the US, this month, there's a lot of graduations happening, although it's very tiresome, especially for teachers, to now change to complete online education. But other than in Africa, most other places, a lot of other places, school is continuing. Students are still learning. And for us, we're just we're just stuck here in this. So for me, that's why we have to rethink how we look at education. It is very, very important that we keep in mind that when we talk about this area, one of the most important thing is to say that in the next decade, 85% of the jobs that currently do exist, or that will be prominent then, do not exist right now. We always joke that is it like 10 years ago, no one was hiring a social media manager, right, in their organization. But right now, any communication team that does not have a social media manager is not complete. And that is a complete job that did not exist about 10 years ago. So this is how the world is changing. And if you look at different trends, it is actually trending towards having a world that is more connected, that is, and if we look at agriculture, we're trying to go with more technology in agriculture, more technology in transport, more technology in manufacturing. So all these things bring the reason why we should be more aggressive around encouraging our young people to pursue and be passionate about science and technology. Because at the end of the day, this is way I would say this is how our world is going. We at this point, we do not need to catch up. We need to be at the forefront of this revolution. And lastly, I'll just want to share like some of the things that we've been able to share. So with the Science Week, you find that you ignite the passion of these young people, whatever walk of life that they're coming from. We have one ambassador who is based in Togo. He's a very young man who's very passionate about education, and one of his work is he has what he calls a mobile lab. So it's like a laboratory for physics, chemistry, and biology. And he goes throughout his country trying to give a full day of science experiments to kids. And during the Science Week, he usually does his whole country in Togo. does a whole country, a tour in Togo, and then goes to Benin, and then I think in 2018 he did Togo, Benin, as well as Ivory Coast. So it's like that young man that is in trying to really bring science to the kids in rural areas, and you find out that most of these young kids have never seen have never done any scientific experiments. But when they're in school, they're really learning about they're learning the periodic table, how all the different scientific facts, everything, but with no actual experiment backing them. So every time he goes in those rural areas, you see that the kids are like, oh yeah, so it's how it's done. So what would this lead? Where would this lead for me? And these are the kind of conversation that our young people should be really privileged. It shouldn't even be a privilege, should be a right to have access to science experiments, to understand what is behind the theory that most people study in class. And then this second picture is just this is like First Lady of Rwanda, First Lady, I believe, of Cape Verde, and then a winner, one of our winners of Miss Geek. So this kind of exposure also to young people, and I think as we like, one of the things is exposing young people and putting them in rooms where they actually can contribute solutions, because they know what's happening in their own backyard. They're the ones that are living, we are the ones that live through these problems. So most of the time we are also creative and understanding on the ways on how we can solve some of these problems. So if you combine and understand that the science and technology that I'm learning right now, how can it be applied to not even like very far to the problems that is in my home, in my community, then how can I solve it? And most of the time we find that kids get creative, they get really they're passionate about, they become passionate, and one day when they find out like, okay, so when someone says to them, oh, that's actually a very good idea, that simple wording of saying that's a very good idea is a sentence that carries them through life and makes them interested to continue doing that. And one example is this lady, she's called Ange. Actually, she was one of our Miss Geek finalists. She did not win. And one of her actual idea was like, every time you go in a hospital, most of our hospitals are overcrowded, and you cannot blame, most of the time you cannot blame nurses and doctors because they're overwhelmed with the workload that they have. So she was like, okay, so what I can do is, if I take the IV drip, like every time you go to the doctor or you're in the hospital, they give you an IV drip, but most patients need a constant IV drip going. So sometimes doctors would come and would notice that your IV drip is finished after like 2 hours or 1 hour or 3 hours or something like that. And that's a very critical time in terms of how the patient recovers or how it becomes worse. So for her, what she did is, if I can just add a simple sensor on the IV drip, and then every time I do not see the IV drip is empty, is almost empty at a critical amount, it sends a message to a dashboard, either in the main nursing room or doctor's room, or even it can even send an SMS to the doctor, to the nurse who's on shift, to know that, oh, this patient has the IV drip is going to end. Can you please do this? So for her idea, she did not win for that for that year, but she's very passionate about the work that she's doing, that she got a local company to support her in terms of funding her develop the idea, make a proper product. But the most fun part is that after that, she was hired by Zipline. I don't know if most of you know Zipline, but it's a drone company. They do blood deliveries to health centers in Rwanda and Ghana, as well as in the US recently. And they started in Rwanda, and they hired her as a drone flight operator. So now she flies drones. And the drones, what they do is, if you're in the hospital, someone needs blood transfusion, someone needs other rare medication, someone needs anything that most countries do not have in that most people do not have in their hospitals, then they'll be able to get it. So so basically, one of the things that she did is, she's a flight operator. She managed to she'll be able to I would say she'll be able to work also on her innovation. So her drive makes her really work on that. Like, her drive to do that made people be interested in the work that she's doing, gave her opportunities. So she's like among the first people that are certified drone flight operators in the world, because Zipline was the first commercial flight operating company in the world. So she's saving lives in a way, and this is it stemmed out of she used to study in TVET, and that's where she got the idea. The first idea was her final year project, and we just said, oh, this is a fantastic idea. A local entrepreneur enabled her to work on a pilot, and then she's now like she's growing into her own. So for me, and this is the end of it, is most young people want to know how they can solve, or they can be part of a solution, and education is an easiest way to guide them through that. And I think that's the main goal that education has done. But if you align where the world is going, what most African countries need, which is being able to really address most of our economic problems, you find that most of our problems can really be solved by scientific and technology solutions that are coupled, of course, with the right policies and the right investment. But for young people, being able to use their hands, being able to use their creativity to find solutions for their community is a very big motivator for this. So for me, as someone who's trying to advocate for more scientific recognition in Africa, for someone who's trying to get more people to join STEM, it is really an important thing for us to see that we are a continent that is very young, and there's no other way if we do not really adapt our STEM education to solve the problems that we currently have in our own community, in our own backyards, in our own country. Thank you. I think that's it.
Thank you, Esther. That was amazing. I was just looking at some of the challenges that you guys were working on solving, and I'm just blown away with our own problems here. So what you guys are doing is remarkable. We will like to kindly ask you, if it's possible, I don't know if you want to share everything that you have in your presentation, but if you could share some of your presentation with us, your slides, so I could send it to them, because a lot of people are really interested in the work you're doing. And I know they want to go back and be able to tell their students that, look, people here are solving these kind of problems here. They're doing this. They're using their knowledge of science and engineering and tech to solve things right here and right then. Guys, this is the time that you can ask her questions. If you're curious to know what motivated her to do this work, if you're curious to know why she continued to do this, if you're curious to know how do you start something like this over here, for those of you who are here in Nigeria, how to start something like this here in Nigeria, if you're in Ghana, this is time to ask her questions. I know I'm going to ask her a question, so I'm going to start, and then while waiting for the rest of you to come on board to ask her a question. So I'm going to ask my questions while we're waiting. And the first one is what I said. What motivated you to go into this line of work to continue to do? Yes.
So it really started a bit early. So when I was in university, I was pursuing computer science. And one of the things, the way we were studying, it did not motivate me. I did not see what kind of career I am going to have in this. Most of the people who finish computer science would go to different organizations to be system admins. That was like the main job that you get out of university after you've completed your computer engineering. And for me, I was like, I'm really not interested in being a system admin. I don't think that is my calling. I don't want to do it. But then luckily we got like this training from some people, from some students, actually, from fellow students from MIT, where they taught us how to create mobile applications in a span of 3 weeks. And those mobile applications were an application that could help you make an appointment at the doctor, an application where you could send a farmer weather forecast, fertilizer information, and such things. An application where you could build like a directory for businesses that are around you, so someone will be able to search it. And for me, that clicked. It clicked in terms of actually this can help me solve some real problems that I see, right? It is going to help me contribute something, and that's where it started. So I built a small company, but then finished that company, went to work for companies, etc., and started Girls in ICT along the way. So that is really, for me, where it started, understanding my skills can help me solve actual real problems that I see around me.
Wow. I've heard about someone like that too, who when he was also in computer science, and when he was in the university too, he was really turned off by the fact that it was all theory. There were no applications for him. He felt like, okay, I'm going to come out of this. I don't really have any skills. I've gained nothing. What's the point? So he dropped out of the university. I met that person in 2017. I think he dropped out of university 2015 or 2016. And he started doing this line of work to where he went and taught himself how to code and started working on different projects. And before you know what's happening, he started doing a lot of work for himself and just continued like that. So kudos to you. People, no questions. I'm still waiting for people to ask questions. No questions. This has been really, really great. I hope people will walk away from your presentation realizing that it's really important that we start, particularly our early childhood people, it's really important that we start putting this love of science and its applications. The fact that we're going to be able to solve problems, yes. Because we're not going to, as Ademola said yesterday, we can't keep waiting for the whole world to come and solve our own problems. Whereas we have brains and we have the abilities. And one thing that he likes to talk about a lot, and I agree, is the fact that we have lots of raw materials here. But yet we keep waiting for those raw materials to be exported. And then we now import them back when they've already been produced into consumable goods, which is what we really like to use over and over and over. I'm still waiting for people, and I'm not seeing any questions. Okay, guys.
Let me add before while we're waiting for someone to ask a question. So on the question of saying we wait for other people, one of the things is no one knows your problem better than you know your problem. And one of good example I stumbled upon last year is the Ebola disease. So I don't know if
Oh,
most of you
yes.
know, most of you know, but the Ebola virus was actually discovered by a Congolese doctor, right? He's called Dr. Muyembe. He's a very, very fantastic person. He's the one who discovered it. He discovered it. He he really documented everything and everything. But then people started taking that knowledge and took it from him and and attributed themselves to that knowledge, but he's the one who knows
Oh,
how it operates.
wow.
He's the
Look
one
at
who
that.
discovered it. He and everything. And just recently is when everyone started saying Dr. Muyembe is the one, he's the figure authority on Ebola in Africa, because he's the one who has been working on it, right?
Wow.
People like yeah, the doctors in Guinea Conakry and Sierra Leone, and as well as like I know, like because I live in Rwanda, we've had cases of Ebola in in Uganda and Congo for so many years, but it never grew this big because local communities knew how to do quick containment of people, etc., etc. So you hear, oh, there's an Ebola crisis for 1 month, oh, it's done, and then 2 years later, an Ebola crisis comes on,
It's
etc.,
back.
etc.
Yeah.
Exactly, but then people tell you, oh, we do not know how to do that. But really, if you were to look, we have the knowledge, we have the capabilities, and it's just for us to say we are owning this and we are solving our problems the way we want to solve them.
Okay, we have a question already.
Mhm.
And Auntie Otuja says she asked the question, but I can't see her question. I can't see her question, so I'm asking her to send her question again. But someone else asked the question: what is the impact on STEM on society?
Okay. So I think that's a very, very broad question, saying STEM on
It is. It's
society.
broad.
It's
It
very,
is.
very, very broad. Let me see. Where should couple of things that change the world. Penicillin, the normal penicillin.
Yes.
Um, I
Yes.
would say penicillin is one of those drugs that contributed to lowering
Yes.
mortality rate globally, right?
Globally,
So
yes.
yes, globally. So that is one, and that is a piece of research. Came from research, people developed that medicine, etc. So when you say STEM, you have to it's science, technology, engineering, and
Mathematics. Yes.
mathematics. And I saw someone who was saying, how do we get mathematics very, very for our young children, knowing is a basic for science. Um, at AIMS, I'm always complaining that we're not talking about mathematics as much. We have a scientist um, who who was able to discover it's like he built a mathematical model. He was able to discover or estimate how long your immunity can last you. So basically, if
Oh,
today I am
wow.
sick, yeah, if today I am sick, they'll be able to predict
Wow.
how many times can I be sick until my immunity is no longer able to help me
Wow. Wow.
recover. So from that mathematical model, now we have to put it in practice. There's also one other what is it? It's like one Rwandan, but he's Rwandan American. He's a cancer researcher, but he's really a statistician. Basically, he's a his work is in mathematics, and he was one of the first cancer treatment that he worked on is he just did mathematical manipulation, looking at statistics and all that, based on two other different drugs that were trying to treat other different
Wow.
illnesses. So just using mathematics, he has a background in statistics. He was
Wow.
able to say, "Oh, I believe this could do this," and he has a patent around it. That's one of the most prominent treatment for cancer that is out there. So and all this, and I believe, especially you guys who are in Nigeria, for me, I'm really Nigerians have so many innovations going for them, um, that I'm always looking out for things that are happening in Nigeria.
Wow, that's
So
good. And we look
yeah,
out for what you guys are doing too, all the time. There needs to
you
be
know,
a
you
synergy.
have
There needs to be a synergy. Yeah, continue.
exactly, yeah. We have one nephew. We also have a NEF fellow who's the youngest PhD holder in mathematics in Africa, and he's Nigerian. He's
He's
currently
Nigerian?
teaching. He's
Wow.
Nigerian, and he got his PhD at 23 years old, I believe.
So 23, he got his PhD in mathematics.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
That is
So
amazing.
very fantastic young man, very driven, but he's really, really prominent in terms of mathematics globally. And mathematics is a very small science, very small community, but he's a very driven individual.
Of
And
course, people will know who he is. Now I need to go
yeah,
find who this person is. Could you send us the
also,
name via email,
yeah,
please? I really want to find out who this person is. That's
uh,
amazing. Yes, Auntie
yeah,
Etujo, she did treat your question. This is great. Wow. Yeah. So you see, guys, more than ever, we do need to spark the imaginations of our children.
ex-
Who knows what they can achieve? Could you imagine at the age of
exactly.
23 acquiring a
Yeah,
PhD in mathematics? I'm not saying that
exactly.
any other fields are less substantial, but I know how hard it is in the mathematics because you have to
It,
prove theorems and there's a lot of work. I have friends who were
yeah,
also mathematicians. I know how much work it is. Wow, that is
exactly.
amazing.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
do we have any more questions? We are very grateful to Esther. Thank you so much. Everyone
Thank
tell her
you.
thank you. I hope this has given you ideas of things that can be done to spark our children's imaginations. And yes, we are so capable of solving our own problems. I mean, look at the challenges and the little, no, I shouldn't call them little, they're big. The big
Mm,
innovations that they're creating at their center and the things they're doing. So big ups to
yeah.
them, and let's start boosting more people here in Nigeria, and also, like I said, create that bridge between what we're doing here in Nigeria and what's happening in Rwanda. You mentioned Ebola. Imagine if from the findings that we found here in Nigeria and findings you guys also had there, people came together and said, you
Mm,
know what, we found this out. Let's look at this. Let's try this. Let's carry out scientific trials, doing this, doing that. The world will just be outstanding. Like, wow. Because that's what they're doing in Europe.
exactly.
France, Germany, they come together, Spain, they
Yeah.
come together. I was just watching about the space race, how much so much has been accomplished when all these different nations started coming together and they created that space station, international space station,
Yeah.
there. Now they're carrying out experiments, they're doing things together, whatever they had found in their different silos. Imagine now combine them and then the money, because
Mm,
now they're all coming together. They're able to have more money from their various nations and they're able to get much, much farther. So imagine we're able to do that
exactly.
here too. Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you, Esther.
And
We're
there's so
so
many. Yeah.
grateful.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You
As
want
in,
to say
always
something?
look out for local innovators in your community, because they're there. They're
Mm,
there, and that I think most of them are also willing to inspire young people, and they can just
yeah.
pop in a class with students, come inspire them, show them what they're doing, and that sparks the idea. Thank you so much for
Yes, it
having
does.
me.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Esther. Thank you. So,
Thank
guys,
you so much.
I'm gonna send out her email to anyone who is interested, and she will share. Please, later next week, share your slides, part of your presentation you're willing to share, and I'll also send it across to them. Those who participated, of course. If you've participated
Yeah.
throughout this program today, send me an email at our email address so that you can get the slides. I really believe in what's the word? Rewarding those who are putting the work. So if you've been part of this,
Hmm.
you've been participating, you've been sending out questions and also saying thank you, whatever way you've been contributing, you deserve to get this slide. So make sure you send an email saying, look, I
Yeah.
participated. I'm going to type our email address again. So Esther, thank you very much. We're going to have a real brief
Hmm. Thank
session
you.
by our student. Yes, thank you, dear. By our student who's going to tell us
Thank you.
about the effect of COVID-19 on learning and strategies that he used and that educators here can also adopt to be able to have them engaged in their own learning. So I'm just going to ask for a brief interlude as he comes on to join us. And then after that, we'll have our last speaker, Mr. Victor Ogumola, who is coming all the way to share his own perspectives on opportunities utilizing STEM, all the way from Texas. So let's start with our students. It's going to be a real brief interlude. Then that's with him, and then Mr. Ogumola will come on board. Just a quick interlude. I wish I could have changed the way. It's okay. Right now, it's showing that the dollars allow. It doesn't matter. Are you ready? Ready to go on live?
Like 5 seconds.
You ready? Shall I make you live? Oh, it was live.
Hello, my name is William Ingwerson. I'm a student. I'm in grade 10. I'm here to talk about how online learning has affected my studies and how I am dealing with it. So first of all, the first topic I'm going to talk about is the students who don't have a stable internet connection. Obviously, it's called e-learning because it's electronic, but the problem is that a lot of these children don't have an internet connection. This is not a fault of teachers, but it's the fault of our government. It's not only a third world issue, it's also a first world issue. In Nigeria, 30 million children don't have stable internet connection, and that's a very large issue during this period. My second topic is going to be absenteeism. A lot of students are not participating in these classes. I feel that this is because some students aren't very intrigued in school and they see e-learning as an opportunity to leave. As a teacher, I feel like you should try and engage your students more. Ways of doing this can be directly messaging them, sending them videos, sending them things, talking to them. You should basically try and make them your friend so they'll trust you more. My second topic is going to be how to engage your students. To me, engaging your students is not the hardest thing in the world. All you really need to do is to capture their interest. Ways of doing this include listening to what they like, learning more about them, doing doing events uh, that are more that make students more willing to participate in the class. Examples of this are debates, students coming together to do projects, and you grading them. To me, grading should not be about giving students marks. It should be about trying to improve students and what they're doing. And to me, this is the most important part of learning, improving yourself. It's not about getting A's or B's or C's. It's as improving yourself through learning. Another topic that I need to talk about is the students who feel as if they're not learning much. I felt this sometimes too when I was learning. Sometimes I'll finish a topic and I won't feel like I've learned very much. This isn't the fault of teachers exactly, but it's still a very large issue. Sometimes I'll finish my math lesson and I won't feel like I've learned much. Some of my fellow classmates have been using online websites to cheat on their classworks, on their homeworks, and on their quizzes. And obviously, from doing this, they feel as if they haven't learned much from the class. So I feel like instead of grading these, you should just ask them live. Another topic I want to talk about is another topic I want to talk about is making students feel as if they're important. Most students only care about their grades. They just want to finish school with an A or 90 or whatever it is in your country or your school. I feel like we should teach students that learning is the most important part of school, learning and interacting. We should promote students interacting with each other, working with each other to try and help to build communities because these children are the same children that will lead our society in the future. And without them, if we don't teach them well, we will suffer the consequences when we grow up in the future. Okay, this is what I have to talk about. Thank you for listening to me. Does anybody have any questions for me before I give this to the next speaker? Nobody's here.
Okay, do we have
questions?
any questions? Oh, they're telling you hello. Say
Hey.
hi. Say hi to everyone. Wave
Hello.
at them. They're telling you hi. Okay, very nice. Good, good, good. Do you have any questions for William, people? Questions, questions, questions. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Lord. No questions. Okay. Do you have any questions to ask the teachers?
Some questions I have is, how are you trying to engage your students? How are you trying to make them feel as if they're important? How are you really judging their growth and how much they are learning through your classes? If they have any questions or you feel as if they're behind, you can always message them or call them or share videos with them to make sure that they're keeping up with your classes.
Fantastic.
So that's all.
Okay, that's all William has. Very good. They said Laurie is asking a question.
Okay.
Hold on. She said, how many students do Nigerian teachers have? Laurie has a question.
How many students? It depends. In my school, which is a private school, we only have 20 students in our classes. But in some public schools, some classes can have up to 100 people, even though they only have one teacher in the class, which is not good, as the teacher won't be able to address each student as an individual. And they'll be treating them more as a number than as a person, which I think is not the right way to teach.
That's right. That's right. Okay. How can the government help students to improve learning?
They should make students more interested in learning by themselves. I use YouTube a lot, and I use YouTube to help myself to be better educated, to learn more, and to grow as a person. I feel that schools should reward children who watch videos and read articles. Okay.
Okay, so they said, William, has STEM education really helped you like subjects like mathematics?
I already like maths, but I believe that yes, STEM has made it more impactful and more interesting to me. To me, math is all about how you can gain a better perspective on it. Math isn't about solving equations, it's about solving our problems.
Okay, good. So William has answered a lot of the questions for educators to understand about being engaged, and from his perspective of how they can be engaged. Oh, okay. So a teacher just said that she also calls the names of her students during her lessons when she's doing it online. Yes, it really helps with a lot of students, as William told you. The key thing is to keep engagement flowing, to keep lines open. So our next speaker is on. I hope hearing from a student's perspective has really helped, because a lot of, how will I call them? Parents and also educators have been sending me messages on WhatsApp, on my Instagram, and on my Twitter asking, how do we keep our children engaged? This online learning is so traumatic, it's challenging, or what do we do? How do we continue this? I felt that it would be important to hear from the perspective of one of our students, able to tell us, this is what worked for me, this is what I think you teachers can also think about. It's always important to hear from their point of view. Our next speaker, Mr. Victor, all the way from Texas, here to tell us about opportunities for STEM students. He's on. All right, let's do it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, please, maybe you want to enable me to be able to share my screen. So I've been struggling with that. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a button on the bottom there where it says
share. Share. I clicked on that.
Yeah, try that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to.
It's not working? Oh, wow. Yeah. It should.
It should.
It should. It should be able to allow you.
Yes, and okay. Sorry, why I deal with that.
It's okay. Esther played around with hers until she finally got it to work. So I know it works, and I did it too. So it worked for me. And Laurie was able to do hers, so it works.
Do you mind? Okay.
Sorry.
I can send you the slide so you can drive for me if you don't mind.
Oh,
can you share?
Okay.
Will you be able to
I can
share
share
your
it on my
screen?
screen. Yes, I can share my screen.
Okay,
Send it to me and I'll do that.
It's not in. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just.
So I'll wait for you.
Okay.
Beautiful. So, thank you, Miss Abigail. Abigail said, "Hearing from William helped." Yes, it's always important to hear from the children's perspective. It is. Thank you, Auntie Otujo, for William's presentation. How does William cope with power?
Okay.
Well, I wish William was still here to share that perspective, because that's something that we had spoken about when he was preparing this presentation for this. William was talking about the fact that how the children in different situations cope with this power crisis that we have here in Nigeria. Some people have no light for days, and yet they're supposed to go online to go to school. In fact, I remember one time, let me just share one experience that we had. We didn't have lights, that's power. We didn't have power for 5 days. And unfortunately for us, our generator also was having issues around that time. And the thing with, we have a solar inverter, but the thing with the solar inverter is that if you have power continuously, then it's able to recharge so that the battery is high. But if you've not had light for, what did I say, it was 5 days, that means your battery is low. I mean, yes, it does recharge with the sunlight, but that means the sunlight has to be really, really intense. And that means you have to give it that chance to build up when the sunlight is really intense. And guess what? If he's online in school, at that time, he was online at school from 8 till about 2. So we're talking what? That's 6 hours, 7 hours that he has to be on. And that's a lot of power usage. It was insane. I remember my mom had to end up giving us her own generator so that we could use it. And imagine how much fuel we had to put into that to burn for those 5 days. So I'm just sharing that to say that this our power issue is a serious one here in Nigeria, of course. And I know it's one that a lot of parents, and when they're telling me it's challenging, that's what a lot of them are alluding to. The power is one of the issues that is difficult for them. So let me get Mr. Victor's, oh, here we go. Let me get his slides so that I can share the screen. Beautiful. Oh, Lord. I can't see your slides.
Oh, I sent it.
Okay. Let me,
yeah.
okay.
Did you receive that? Yeah.
I am checking everywhere. I'm checking all my emails.
Okay, I can resend.
Please resend. I'm checking every single email that I have, and I'm not seeing anything yet. Send it again.
I'm doing that right away again.
Send it again. Yeah. Sometimes it's pretty slow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's pretty slow. So while we're waiting for him to resend the email,
sent
it again.
Yes.
Okay, let me check. I met Victor on LinkedIn. So anybody who says, who does social media help? Guys, social media to me is a game changer. I met him on LinkedIn. You shouldn't just go on these social media sites and just be perusing and just hanging out. You actually should connect with people. You'll be surprised what you can learn from them. Yes, I've gotten it. You'll be surprised what you can learn. Yes, I got it. You'll be surprised what you can learn from them. There's so much you can learn from them. So much. When you are there, don't just like and say, oh, this is cool. Oh, this is nice. Start go to their inbox. Don't just say only hi. Say, okay, I mean, of course, you're going to say hi or hello, but introduce yourself briefly and then say what you do and say, what it is about their profile or a post that they posted that, I'm really interested in you. I like what I've seen, Make it meaningful, make it make sense. It shouldn't be something silly like, hi, you look cute, or, or hi, or some people who just immediately start selling you something. I have so many of those on LinkedIn, unfortunately. Oh, I'm selling real estate, blah, 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 blah. That's not the way you should go about it. Really connect to people. You'll be amazed from the connections, the things that will happen in your life and their lives. Because remember, it's supposed to be reciprocal. You're supposed to impact each other's lives, their life and your life. It should be a two-way street. I'm still loading the PowerPoint as we speak. The moment it's on, I will get off and let the PowerPoint be on my screen, and then you keep talking. Okay, lovely. Okay, it's populating. Fantastic. Okay, so I am going to go back to our window, and then I will share my screen. Uh-oh, he's no longer on. Wow. Okay, he's going to come back on. In the meantime, I'm going to share my screen. I will have his presentation up here so that you can see what it looks like. While he's coming on, that's what his presentation looks like. And when he comes back on, he's going to start talking to you while this is on. Okay? STEM the equalizer to optimize and sustain STEM education. I will check back whether he's back on right now. Hopefully he is. No, he's not back. Wow. See, the thing with technology is quite funny. Okay, while we wait for him, let's give him about 2 to 5 minutes before he comes back on. I can't go through his presentation, of course. He's the only one who can do it justice. So we're going to wait for him. While we will do so, if you have any questions, please, this will be the time to ask the questions. I am going to go ahead and post our email again. If you are participating, okay, good, he's back on. If you are participating, please make sure that you send an email stating that fact so that you can get the slides from the presenters today. Laurie has already expressed her interest in working with various people here in whatever spheres that they have. And then she has this PDF that she wants to share that has a lot of her information. And don't forget the accompaniments she mentioned. And then Esther also said that she'll be willing to share her presentation with us. I really believe that would be fantastic so that you can inspire our students about solving problems here. Victor is back, so let me bring him back on board, okay? Hi, Victor.
Hi, Mrs. Aditola.
Okay, so
first of all, sorry.
Okay, so your slide is on now, so it's okay. We know power
great.
Connections are really funny. We already know that, so don't worry.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm going to, of course, I'm going to let you go ahead. Let me stop my own cam. Okay. Go ahead with your presentation. Your presentation is on the screen.
Great. Thank you for offering to help me to drive this because actually I've been struggling with configuring this to be fit for purpose. So somehow technology did the trick on me. So first of all, I want to apologize because all the technical issue has actually taken some time from you, and I apologize for your time. I know it's very precious. And again, I also want to thank Mrs. Salau. This is a very great initiative. For me as a person, I'm well driven about everything that relates to building the next generation of leaders. And either in terms of mentorship, in terms of helping the younger generation to navigate their career so as to position themselves for the future that we all envision for each and every one of them. So once again, this is a very, very great initiative. So today, I know I have the next couple of minutes to cover this. So I will be speaking on STEM, the equalizer, and specifically how to optimize and sustain STEM education. That is in terms of mentorship. So just like any endeavor in life, we need to take that baby step. We need somebody to hold our hands when we are learning to walk and to keep us on track. We constantly need somebody who, especially who has walked the path before. Most of the things we do in life, we have to be driven, and at the same time, we don't have to reinvent the wheels for most things because we have people who have the knowledge, we have people who have had similar experience, so there's a lot to leverage from their wealth of experience. So my focus area will be how do we sustain STEM education? How do we encourage every stakeholder to be part of this in a way that it will sustain STEM education? I know a lot of speakers have alluded to what STEM means and its importance in our socioeconomic situation. for me, I like the fact that COVID-19 happened in a positive way. Yes, it is very sad how many people we've lost. Just last night, I looked at the statistics, the global death has gone really high. I'm here in the United States. It's very scary when you look at what could be a very major second wave of COVID-19. We have we have family, friends who have been impacted one way or the other, economically, even life. I have a wife who is a frontliner, so we know every time we live under constant fear of unknown. For 2 times in the course of this COVID, between March and now, my wife had to self-quarantine twice. So, we have all those issues. At the same time, on the flip side is the opportunities that this particular pandemic has presented. And that should be our focus, because as we prepare ourselves to face the future and the reality of the time, then we have to be well prepared. We have to be well aware of what is it that we have to do in order to be an important or a key player in that future. So if you transition, if you can move to the next slide, that would be great, ma'am. So today I will be, very simple. I will keep it very simple. Effective STEM mentoring, that's what I target. Because mentoring in terms of STEM is a special one. Yes, you can mentor somebody who is reading literature, who is studying law. It's not as the same as when you will mentor somebody who has to do things that are hands-on. So I will talk briefly on what is it. And of course, I will focus on key areas of mentorship, research, interpersonal, psychosocial, and career. And of course, mentorship has to be culturally responsive and highly diversified. And how do we sustain STEM education in general? And of course, we have ample of time for discussion. So please, if you move to, yeah, good. So STEM mentoring, what is it? So, we can define mentoring in different ways, but there are key things that you have to keep in mind. The first thing is the collaboration. It has to be collaborative. When you mentor, it's a two-way, it's a two-edged sword. You have the mentee, you have the mentor. So each of these is the stakeholder in the outcome of any mentorship program, either it will be a success or otherwise. So both stakeholders have to judiciously play their role. And you want to mentor people because they need to know. And people need to know because they believe they can leverage on people's experience. So that is the key thing. And when you mentor, you have a goal in mind. In this case, we are talking about STEM mentoring. So what is a fit for purpose mentoring process that you could possibly have in place? And what kind of support you really need to provide? And you have to provide direction, all in a bid to motivate and to ensure that your mentee develop the right skills that will help them to attain their career goals. So if you already moved to the next slide. So I want us to look at what are the attributes of effective STEM mentoring. The first focus here is research. So, and I like to look at this. I've got a 14-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old. For the 7-year-old, who is the youngest, David, is in a class called GT, that is gifted and talented. Basically, these are few students that have been, put in a pool of special education track because they learn differently. They don't learn at the same level as their class. Sometimes they could feel so bored when you put them together with other regular students. So in his own class, they do a lot of hands-on, and every quarter they do a project. My boy is a space science enthusiast. So what I had to do for him as a mentor, because I consider myself as his first mentor, and for you to mentor a special student, somebody who is STEM driven, this is not like a language or linguistics kind of discipline. So it has to be hands-on, and it has to be effective. So you have to develop a roadmap, and that roadmap must be focused. Must focus on, how hands-on that your mentorship could be. So the first thing you want to do is to develop the disciplinary research skills. You want to imbibe the skills in them. And on the part of the mentors have to, he has the responsibility of conceptualizing and design a lot of research projects. And of course, because the whole intent is to provide opportunities to make observed techniques. You see, the mentees, I think yesterday, one of the speakers made a quote that I learned, when you see something, you learn better. Sorry, it's an adage. So to paraphrase, when you read about something, probably you don't have a deeper understanding of that thing. But when you do it, when you see it being done, I think you kind of internalize it more, and your understanding of it becomes more effective. That is how STEM mentorship should be. It's different from every other type of mentorship. And of course, as an effective mentee, like I said in the previous slide, this is a collaborative work between a mentor and a mentee. So a mentee, please, if you can move the, hello, can you still hear me? Hello? Yeah, okay. So as an effective mentee, how do you respond to a mentor who wants you to be able to observe, who wants you to build your technical skill, to build your research skill? So as a mentee, you have to develop the skills to design and carry out a research project as well. So it is a skill that you can intentionally build. There are a lot of resources online. This generation is so blessed. Anything you want, you find online. I think Ms. Salah was saying that yesterday. Information is just everywhere. So you can essentially get yourself to a position to be research-minded, driven kind of mentee. So if you move to the next slide. So the next thing in terms of research is to develop technical skill. Developing technical skill means the mentor is providing instruction on core dictionary research techniques, just like the first. But on the part of the mentees, you have to commit to learning. It is for you to do something unusual, you have to also make an extra level of commitment. So you have to be constantly committed to learning and gaining proficiency in disciplinary research techniques. This is very, very important. If you love science, everything you love about science is not just about reading. One of the speakers yesterday was talking about how to change the curriculum in order for to meet the demands and the reality of the time we are in. So it is not just about it is not just about reading, or when you have an exam you are able to consume volumes of material, and you go to the examination hall and you just pour everything down and you make decisions, and at the end, maybe 1 month after, they ask you anything regarding that particular course, you can't remember. So that is not how STEM scholars should be structured. That is not a learning that is designed for success. So as a mentor, we have to have that mindset of what we are doing. All the focus has to be hands-on, and as a mentee, it is important for you to also be committed to learning. So if you move to the next slide, please. So the next thing is, okay, to actually have effective mentoring, we get to develop mentee research self-efficacy. And what do I mean by that? You want to make sure that mentee is capable of independent intellectual thinking, independent research skills. So, and as a mentor, you want to make sure you are fostering the ability of your mentor to internalize their own ideas. It is not just you, putting everything on them. Both of you can work together. An idea could emanate from there. You could be the one initiating the idea. But the most important thing is a mentee must be an active participant of everything that has to do with their career development in the place of mentoring. So they should be able to manage every anxiety associated with independent research process. Yes, sometimes you feel like quitting, but when for you to be a success in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, you have to be completely sold out to you want to be emotionally stable, not just your academic, you want to be, intelligently stable. And I mean, every area of life is very, very important for you to be able to achieve a high quality research work. So if we move to the next slide. So the next focus here is interpersonal. Between a mentor and mentee, there must be a trust and honest relationship. We must be very intentional on how we build trust in our relationship. So on the part of the mentor, he has to be very honest and open about feedback. In my career, one single thing that has really helped me is when I get feedback. And I'm at a point in my life that I don't even wait for people to offer me feedback. I consciously seek for it. I consciously ask for it. So you want to make sure, and as a mentor, you want to make sure you are honest and open about the feedback to your mentee. And your mentee, if you are a mentee, whichever one you belong, you must be very honest as well and open on feedback. So that, and of course, sometimes the relationship could get, you could be very overwhelmed. You should be very open. I have tens of mentees, formally and informally, in my job, out of my job. So most of these folks are younger people. And the people I dedicate most time for among my mentees are the ones that, number one, they come prepared. They can even think ahead of you. And more importantly, they are always honest. Sometimes after a discussion, you have some action items. Before, the deadline that both of you agreed on, before that deadline comes, many of them will like, oh, sir, I'm actively working on that. This is where I am. Or, oh, I don't think your suggestion will really work, or your recommendation will be relevant to what we are trying to do here. As a mentee, you should be free enough and be open enough to have that kind of conversation with your mentors. And this is more so when it comes to science-oriented technology engineering, because you can fail, but you want to make sure you are failing sensibly. You want to make sure that, you want to see your mentor as a team member. Both of you own the success. And on the other hand, you hold the responsibility. So if you see it that way, and you are respective of each other, I tell you, you will have a very great experience in terms of, your vision, your plan, and all your aspirations to be a STEM scholar that will be a success. So if you can advance the slide, please. So we are still talking about interpersonal. This is very important. There are a lot of things you can never see in textbooks. And those are your soft skills. I think somebody mentioned that yesterday. Yes, you can read everything about technical stuff in textbook, in published papers, but to consciously build your interpersonal relationship, it is something that you have to consciously do, I would say. So another important thing here is you want to make sure there's always an alignment. You want to set the expectation right from the word go, or based on the project at hand. So you want to make sure that everybody is on the same page, both the mentor and the mentee, because that will have, that will be a major reference point as you move forward. Either you have selected a project you are working on, or a particular area or aspiration you are focusing on. That will be a good reference point, because at every point as you move forward, you get to have a checkpoint, and to keep yourself honest, whether you are meeting the expectation, whether you are still within the scope of what you have designed at the word goal. Everything will be based on the expectation you've set at the very beginning. So, and that requires that the mentor establish and communicate mutual expectations. Even when we have a phone conversation, it is important that both the mentor and the mentee, they send an email or direct message, recapping all that has been discussed. That way, everybody will understand. Because when we speak on phone, understanding could be different. Interpretation could be different. But when you put things on paper, and if there is something that doesn't really or truly represent what I said, then I have the opportunity to correct and to modify. So if you do all this, mentor-mentee relationship is, will be heading for success. And of course, in terms of objectives, in terms of the goal that both the mentor and the mentee have set for themselves, they have the high chance of achieving those. Next slide, please. So now, psychosocial. That sounds weird, but what that really means, basically, you see, is the set of mentees I've really enjoyed working with are the ones that are naturally passionate about what they do. As a mentor, you want to make sure you establish, a STEM identity. What I mean by this is this. One of my kids, no matter how hard I try to get him to do certain things, he will tell, no, I'm not having any of that. As a parent, I could recognize some potential that, okay, if you focus on this thing, you may really do well. But to him, he has a different plan. So it is my role again to reassess my own perception and to focus more on the things that I believe interesting. It doesn't matter whether he's very good in biology. And maybe because I've seen a lot of his interest in biology, and now I'm trying to push him to the medical field. He may not want to have any of that. It could be that, okay, even though he's not writing code right now, his interest might be in AI, it may be in ML, machine learning. It may be in something completely different. So you get to recognize that. You get to build that identity. You have to identify that. And based on that, then before you even begin to make any plan, because if whatever you are doing, if your mentee and mentor are not on the same page, you are never going to have any success. So, but you will be able to have effective mentor-mentee relationship when both of you are able to recognize that, okay, indeed, this is something that this fellow is naturally passionate about. And of course, once you establish that as a mentor, the mentee too, in actions, in his or her ability to deliver on action items, he should be able to affirm that indeed, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. So that is very important. And it will help it will help the relationship and of course the goal to be achieved. Next slide, please. So also still talking about effective mentoring in terms of psychosocial. I reflected this in the first slide under when we're talking about research. It is also important that self-efficacy, because this is what this means. Some people, they just love doing something as a hobby. Some people, they want to do it for a career. For example, I work in the oil and gas industry. But my love is to, I would say my passion is to be in the classroom. And because of that, I visit universities every year, a lot of universities, both in the North American and in Nigeria, in Africa. And anytime I'm in the front of students, I feel so much relaxed. I know this is something I like to do. But in terms of career, I also see some reasons why I don't want to be a full-time lecturer. So you have to be able to establish whether this person just likes science as a hobby, or it is something that they really want to build career on. They have the aspiration to build the career on. And as a mentee, you have to be, you should have the clarity of your conviction. You should have the clarity of your goal for life. And you want to also make sure you are preparing yourself, for the opportunities ahead based on your interest, based on your aspiration. And more importantly, both the mentors and the mentees have to align. The next slide, please. So diversity. I think it was our speaker yesterday, Dr. Sorry, the name now. But I think I was popping in and out of his lecture. But I had him, I think he spoke on encouraging more women instead. And I mean, for me, what jumped at me is diversity, right? So just like every part of our life, diversity is becoming a big issue. And either at the managerial level, in the corporate world, or in government, in public sector, anywhere. And here in science, in technology, in engineering, in maths, we also need to encourage diversity. So when you identify a mentor, or I say, okay, here, this is where mentors have to be very proactive. Like the prof was saying yesterday, maybe because of the society where we grew up knowing that, okay, certain jobs are for men and certain jobs are for women. For example, not until I got to the United States, or maybe UK actually, I never knew a woman could drive a bus, could drive luxurious bus, or like those big ones that they use for public transport. When I saw that, I was blown out. I mean, from the least of position to the highest of things that we do in this world, you see women there. NASA epitomizes, the highest level of science and technology, or what ingenuity can bring to forth through STEM. Yet we've had a lot of women astronauts. So the important point on this slide is this, that I want to call our attention to. As a mentor in particular, I want to be more proactive, especially when we think about our nation, when we think about the uniqueness of our demography. We want to proactively identify, self-driven individuals, especially the women. We want to bring them and encourage them into this science, even for some of them that have indicated interest. They've been going around with a lot of stereotypic mindset that, okay, maybe this is not something I can really do. So as a mentor, it is important that we recognize and acknowledge this. And you also want to educate them so that you don't want them to carry such mindset, because if they have that mindset, if you are not dealt with it, it will make your mentoring or mentorship as effective. And of course, on the part of the mentees, they have to also recognize the stereotypes associated with their group identity. And not just identify or recognizing it, but they should be ready to also believe in themselves. They should be ready to understand that There is nothing a man can do, for example, that a woman cannot do. And vice versa. This is also, true for both sides. So, and that is even at, gender level. Yesterday, one of our, I think Demola, our speakers, after his talk, I think Laurie asked a question, and he now made a comment. So I never knew the white people can understand my my accent. And I like the way Mrs. kind of responded to that. Because what really unites us is not about your gender, it's not your race. It is all about the science. It is all about the vision to build that enviable future. So all I'm saying here is this. You, as a mentor, especially as a mentee, nothing should be a barrier on your path to greatness. You could be the greatest inventor of our time. There are a lot of things that are yet to be invented. There is so much opportunity. Look at COVID-19 right now. As of today, we've not gotten any vaccine, even though there are a number of leads that the scientists, the medical world are working towards. So there's still much. About 10, 15 years ago, nobody could imagine how we relate, how we socialize today. There's still a lot. So, and it doesn't matter whether you're a man or woman, you are white or black, you are privileged or underprivileged. Everybody has a shot at it. So that is why mentorship is so central. For us to sustain STEM, especially in a country like Nigeria, we need the full involvement of our seasoned mentors to intervene and help these younger ones to navigate through their career. So before I leave, I'm going to leave you with this final note. A couple of quotes. Yeah. This is from a man called Bo Sanchez. He said, getting mentor is the shortcut to success. That is very key. You don't have to always reinvent the wheels. The wheels are already set. There are a lot of references. You have a lot of resources. And when you don't have to do all the legwork anymore, when you have a mentor that can flatten the curve, that can even cut the curve for you, then your path to greatness, your path to attaining and achieving your goals is much shorter. So mentoring is very important. Very, very important. The next one, please. So, and your mentor. Next slide, please. Your mentor is someone who sees more talent and ability within you than you see in yourself and helps bring it out of you. That's by Bob Proctor. Yes, sometimes there are things we don't see about ourselves. You see, like I alluded to in my previous slide, sometimes you think, oh, I can't do this thing, or this is never meant for me. It's not because you don't have the capability or the ability to do that thing. It's not because you don't have the aptitude to be successful at it. But just because of one mindset, just because of the environment we grow in, just because of the stories we've had. So here, I will say this. In my first year at the university, I read geology. I was the very first week in the school, I met one of my neighbor in my hostel who happened to be a geology student as well. However, I was in his final year. I saw him as a big brother. And naturally, we connected almost immediately. And I will be, once in a while, I will go to his room. So at a point, every time the way he talked about the department, about how nobody has ever made first class, even the 2-1 is a tall order for anyone, and about no matter what you do, no matter how hard you study, you are never going to make this. So, at a point, I got discouraged. I started, then I realized that this man is not the right person for me to be close with. So I withdrew. And I focus more on what is important. What I'm saying is, you could get a mentor that could be very, very negatively impacting your life. But that's not the kind of mentor you want to look at. I mean, you want to look up to. But at the same time, there are mentors that will always see the best in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. These are the kind of mentors you want to consciously look out for. So if you go, if you advance the slide, please. Okay. So second to the last is a mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself, just like the other one. This is by Oprah Winfrey. So mentoring is a very, very key integral part of your career growth, especially in STEM education, because there are a lot of unknowns. There are a lot of things that, there are a lot of gaps that a mentor can actually help you to mind. So the last one, progress, please. Yes, the last one, please. So here is my final note. So I said a strategic end-to-end mentoring scheme. 1 second, please. Okay, a strategic end-to-end mentoring scheme will drive, optimize, and sustain the more desired STEM education in Africa. That is very important. It is not just enough for us to talk about these things. Yes, we've had a lot of people speaking to our souls, to our drive, to our aspirations, and to our hope in the last 24 hours. At the same time, for us to carry forward, we need to sustain this by making sure that we identify self-driven individuals who are ready to, who have aspiration to be STEM scholar, to develop a career in STEM. And we have to make ourselves available to also help them to navigate through that. So lastly, partnering with education stakeholders and leveraging on the experience of seasoned mentors will reposition the continent as a key player as we develop the next generation of leaders in a post-COVID-19 world. Yes. So parents, teachers, students, all of us are stakeholders, mentors. All of us have to work. We have to be very, very intentional. We have to be very sensitive and passionate about building the next generation of leaders. We have to be ready to volunteer our experience, our intellect, and everything that we have to do in order to build the next generation of leaders. And when we do that, then we can say that Nigeria and Africa in general is better positioned to face the reality of the time we are in. Thank you so much. Then we have time for questions now.
Thank you so much. My God, when you talk about mentors, I can see even Laurie saying here that she's grateful for all the people who have mentored her in her journey. And Demola said, when one thinks deeply, one sees wisdom is actively seeking mentorship as opposed to Kesera Sera, what will be. My mentors have made me who I am becoming today. It's the same for me. I was sharing about the role model in my life, the petrochemical engineer that was amazing and so sound that I said, wow, I want to be like her. I would call her a mentor too. And then I think of so many other women. In fact, one of them I reacquainted. I shouldn't use the word reacquainted. We connected back again. She was my senior when I was in college in New York, in the States, in my undergrad. She was like a mentor to me. We were just fresh from Nigeria, going to the States, going to New York. And she took me under her wing as big sister to little sister and was talking to me and teaching me and loving on me. And she was also, spiritually minded. So she also was talking to me in that aspect too. And I look back and I see that my undergraduate wouldn't have been complete without her. And when we reconnected, and I say reconnected, I mean, it was a physical reunion in New York last March. Yes, 2019 March. We hadn't seen ourselves for years and years and years. Let's see. We hadn't even seen ourselves even before I had my son when I left New York. So we're talking over a decade, almost a decade and a half. So it was such a beautiful reunion, seeing this mentor and talking, seeing what she was doing in her life. She was working in a really, really top-notch bank in the US. And then from there, she also went into working with the federal government in a really, really fantastic, high-profile job. So talking to this mentor, listening to her, it was so inspiring because it even gave me more of a fire that, don't give up, keep pushing. And I started telling her about the work that at that time, which I'm still doing, the work I had been doing since I came back to Nigeria and the work I was still doing. And she was encouraging and she was supportive. And every time we will have drives for in fact, let me say this here because people should understand there is so much that is involved in mentorship. Anytime we will have drives for our programs for the STEM boot camps for children, she will always make sure that somehow, some way, she put in something. She chipped in financially, of course, prayers and, sending messages. Oh, I read this. Look at this person who is doing something great in diaspora. Because like Esther had mentioned, and you had mentioned, and everybody else has mentioned throughout this program, it's important for our children to have these role models of people who are doing great things out there and say, wow, I want to be like this. So she will always share that. And there are so many mentors, I feel like each person deposits into your life. Sometimes it's a quick, how do we call it? A quick interlude, there you go. And then sometimes it's a season. A season means it's just that period. Maybe it's a month, maybe 6 months, maybe it's 5 years. They'll be in your life. And then there are those people who have walked with you from the beginning. They keep walking with you. So we have mentorships in different areas. So I hope people will tune in and understand the impact and the importance of what you were sharing, and also avail themselves to be able to share themselves as mentors to others, because you never know the impact it's going to have on other people's lives. Never know. Are there questions? Okay, good. Laurie has a question for you. She said, how do you encourage your mentee when she is facing a huge learning curve? Can I repeat that again, sir?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it. Okay, please.
Clearly, yes. So thank you, Laurie. That is a very, very important and practical question. And I tell you, I've run into that many times. Yes, that, you see, what I look at in every mentee is the first thing I look at is to weigh, first of all, your passion, your aspiration, and connecting that with your ability. So, and I think in the course of my presentation, I made mention of honest and open feedback. So a particular case came to mind. I had one of my scholars. I knew because of his academic record, is not likely to be considered for an Ivy League college here in the States, for example. Because then, even though he scored very high in the standardized exam, the graduate record exam and test for English, TOEFL and GRE. But when you look at the first degree, maybe, and when I read his SOP, statement of purpose, in relation to what he wanted to do, then I figured that, okay, for you to stand a better chance, especially in a very competitive school like that, can't we have make another selection of school, maybe not too great school, but because the whole idea is to get you a funded program. Yes, you could be given admission without funding. I don't have money to fund you. I don't think your parents will even be able to afford that. So we have to work towards us. That is one way to approach that. But to go to the extreme end, that particular mentee, I think it is a different level, maybe in relation to others, if I can read Laurie's mind now. I also have, I've encountered scholars, maybe mentees that say, okay, they want to do this, they want to do that. And I know they don't have any aptitude for that. And as a mentor, important part of what we do is to be honest and open. It is not, I will be sentimental, I will give you a very constructive feedback. So
Right.
I've been in a situation whereby I had to tell my mentee that, look, I don't think you can do this. Of course. He said, why do you think so? Okay, this is what I think. And sometimes I've had success with that, and sometimes it hasn't really ended well. But in each occasion, I've worked out knowing fully well that my conscience is clear. I mean, in my career, I've been given a lot of uncomfortable feedback. I've been in a situation whereby I thought I've done my best, and they said, no, I could have gone wrong maybe in the place of process, even though you got the answer. So you still get the feedback. Even sometimes when you expect to be praised, to be appreciated. And for me, as either mentee as a mentor, I appreciate honesty. I don't want to be in a situation whereby I give you credit for what you don't deserve, or I take from you the credit for what you work for. So maintaining that balance, I think being honest and open is very key to in a mentor-mentee relationship. I don't know if that satisfies your question, Laurie.
Laurie, did he answer you? Do you like his response? Please let us know. Any more questions about mentorship or any comments? He really would appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah.
Just think about it this way. I remember the professor that I mentioned when I was talking yesterday, that I said is a fantastic professor at the University of Delaware, an engineer that his first degree was in. Okay, Laurie said you answered her really well. Yeah, there's a professor at the University of Delaware, and first degree was in Unilag. He said something. When he came back to Unilag, he created an endowment chair here at Unilag, which I found fantastic. There's nothing like giving back to where you came from, pouring back. So when he was doing that, he mentioned that quote. I'm sure I will not quote it because I should have written it down. But something about for him to get up, he had to step on the shoulder of giants that came before him. So I just want to remind us that each of us cannot think that we're an island. There are other people who also bear us up on their shoulders so that we have that boost so we can go up. And then one day we too are going to be that boost for someone else that needs to go up too. And when that opportunity avails itself, please boost that person, help that person. That's what we are all called to be. We're all called to be helpers to each other. We're all called to help to boost each other up. That's what he's sharing, and that's what he's talking about. Any more questions? No more. Oh, okay, Auntie Otujo has something here. She says mentorship is good and was practiced in our secondary education at school mother. Yes, school mother to school daughter. But now the practice is not the same now. Yes, a lot of things have changed, unfortunately. A lot of things. Yes, I remember when I was in secondary school too, having a school mother and them encouraging and also helping you. Like I said, that's what my friend did for me when I was in college, when we left Nigeria and went to the US. Okay. Oh, Auntie Akinware says, Ms. Akinware says, excellent presentation, sir. In-depth knowledge. Thank you. Yes. Mr. Victor is very sound. For you to be presenting at my people, those exploration people, NAPI, it's not small. You have to be really, really good. As a fellow engineer, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I remember 2 times that I went for their program at VI, when they were having what do we call it, our conference. You have to be so sound. You know what I'm talking about? You have to be very sound because everybody, the eyes of everyone is on you. People are going to come, NMPC, Shell, Mobile. You have to be really, really good. And he's been their keynote speaker. I think you were the keynote last year. Yes, he was last year, 2019. Yes, he was their keynote last year. So you know he has his stuff down. And like he said, he's really passionate about also bringing up more of our students who can also follow up. Because you see, it's one thing to have people like him, but he also needs have others that are going to follow up after him so that there will be more of us represented at these, organizations and at these programs so that they can see more of us. it's important. It's really, really important. Okay. Yes. Laurie says, thank you for teaching us, sir. I'm also grateful. I was just watching and listening when you're talking about technical skills and research. I said, people only realize that he's giving them gold right now. I'm sorry, but that was what just came to me immediately. That he's giving them gold. I've also sent a message. A lady said she wasn't able to get on earlier. I've told her she should go back and watch the replay on our YouTube channel, because she also deals with community development in Ogun State. I really want people like that, particularly people who are in the development sector, to go back and watch and get these gold nuggets and share it back with these children. There's a reason we keep emphasizing this over and over and over. We want these children to follow up and also be able to impact other lives. It's not just us. Everything that we're talking about is not us. Our own generation now is just laying the stones and then passing on the baton, hopefully. So any more questions, any more comments? Okay, while we're waiting, I am curious. You mentioned earlier that your passion is teaching and that you do come back and share. No, I hit on that immediately. And that in the US over there, you also go back to universities and you share, and you do the same here in Nigeria. Why is this so important to you? Yes, I kind of have an idea what you're going to say, but I want to hear you say your own words. Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you. That is an important question.
Yes.
What I really love to do is making as much impact as I can in the lives of the younger ones. And yes, I could do that in different ways. Either sharing the knowledge in terms of technical skill, or maybe sometimes I go to school, I share my personal life experience, and all in a bit to motivate others. I came from a very humble background, very, very humble. As an undergraduate, I had to juggle between farming and staying on campus. Every Friday, I go to my village. Saturday, Sunday, I'm on the farm working, raising money, coming back to school on Monday morning. So I understand how difficult it could be for a lot of Nigerian students, for example, especially the self-driven ones. Yes, many people have opportunity that they don't exactly utilize in a very judicious way. But when I want to touch that particular demography. I know the struggle. I know what the challenges are. Then in terms of career, I also want to be in a position that I will be able to enable others, not just for their academic need, but for their financial need. I left Nigeria in 2005 on scholarship to the UK to do for grad program. And before I left Nigeria, I was already doing a graduate study at Obafemi Awolowo University. As I was leaving, my professors at IFE, Victor, here is your, when you come back, we are waiting for you. The same thing, the full-time lecturers, because I had my first degree in full-time. But as they say, one thing will lead to the other. So at the end of my program, I had multiple opportunities. I had to go back to Nigeria to stay back in the UK. So then the way I look at it is, okay, let me develop myself. When you are enabled, then you'll be able to enable others. And on average, I come to Nigeria twice a year, on average. And all I do is to visit schools. I'm not just visiting school, giving lectures. I also give them the resources as much as I can. I know a number of students who could not afford their tuition. I may not be able to pay their tuition fully, but we help. They are also pulling by virtue of the network I've built.
Yes.
I'm able to pull friends, associates. In fact, in the last couple of months, we've raised close to $30,000.
Whoa.
Helping Nigerian students. So for me, it's like fulfilling the goal of both worlds. Yes, I love to teach. I love to be in that constituency of academia. At the same time, we need the resources to help the most vulnerable among them. So having the opportunity to work in the industry, not just the money I make, but the kind of network that gives me. So because of my activities in the academic area, and because I have a career in the industry,
that's right.
I'm in a kind of vantage position to bridge both sides. And I'm proud to say that I have within my network professors, PhD holders, then managers and people and our career, kind of. So I'm now in the bid to, leverage on those networks to make the most impact on our younger generation. So in fact, I tell my wife, what I would love to do after retirement is to lecture, even for
I was going
money.
to tell you, you have no choice. You are going to lecture. I already see it. There's so much knowledge inside that head. You have to pour it out. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if that satisfies your question, but there's so much I can
It has. There's so much in there. You have to pour it out. These young ones need it. So trust me, they do. We're so grateful. Thank you so much, sir. I remember the day that I was perusing through your profile on LinkedIn, and then I just kept reading about the different programs you have for our youth here in Nigeria, all these outreaches you had. I was just reading, even the post you had after when you spoke at Nappy here, you already went around trying to do different programs to reach out to our university students. And I kept saying, wow, he's so driven to constantly pour and give and give and give. And that was why I now sent you that message that please, would you mind coming to speak at our conference? Would you mind sharing your own ideas and perspectives? Because I saw that this is something that you were so passionate about. I'm sure that the moment that ban on international travel is lifted and things are clear, and well, I know things are not going to ever go back to normal, but at least things are, balanced, safe. I'm sure we're going to see you back here in Nigeria, and these are our students get benefit from your largesse. I know that. We're really looking forward to that. Thank you for constantly giving. Thank you for constantly sharing. We need more people like you. In fact, this is a call to action. If you're over there in the diaspora, you're in Canada, you're in Australia, you're in the UK, you're in the States, don't just say because you're there, that's it. Whenever you're traveling, you can bring back used books. You can ship them in boxes. You don't have to necessarily carry them in your suitcases. You can ship them in boxes. You'll be surprised with the benefits that those textbooks can have at other students' lives. Yes, and print worksheets. And then whenever you see people who are doing programs and you vetted them, you've been following them for a while, you see that they're reputable people. They're people who have integrity. Invest in those programs so that through those programs, you are also passing on your allergies and you're also impacting lives. You'll be surprised. Like I said, I was sharing about my mentor. We've been doing those camps for the past 3 years. We're hopeful that when things are also balanced and safe here, we'll do something here too. And I know that those children, because we go and get children from Mushin, Shita here in Yaba, we get them and they come. And some of them, in fact, I remember last year when we were teaching them about acid bases, they were just looking. They did not understand because you see, they immediately hear acid. Those of them who at least have read and have heard about it, they think that it's something far out. But we told them that it's something that they encounter all the time, even in the food that they eat. We had to now bring it down to application and practical levels to them. And once that happened, see the light bulbs that went off in their eyes. And there were so many other things that we did with them. Really fun activities. We talked about motion. We talked about gravity. I'm trying to remember one right now. Motion, gravity. Oh, force. We did force too. And we carried this out with really fun activities. Little car, what do you call those things now? My son is the one who will be able to tell us. Those motor cars that those little children like to play around with. We constructed bridges. We constructed driveways, and they were now carrying out experiments with stopwatches. It was fun. The point is, when they're in the classroom, they've never had the opportunity to do that because normally they're just writing notes. But with us, for those couple of days that they were with us, they were carrying out these activities. Find people who are doing things like that, vest in them. That's your own way of giving back. That's what Mr. Victor has been doing all these years. We need more people like him. So that's my call to action. Be like Victor, right? Thank you so much, sir. So guys, can we say thank you to him as we call this a wrap? thank you for being with us for the past 2 days. This is going to be available as a replay on our page. You can keep watching it, keep sharing to other people, so that we need more people hearing about people who are doing work like this and who are doing more things. Our hope is here at Lagos State, we'll institute and infuse STEM methodology, and people will see what we're doing here in Lagos State. And then it will pass across Nigeria. And then people like Esther, who are doing marvelous things in Rwanda, will also share their best practices with us, and they will keep sharing and spreading across Africa. And like Ademola says, we'll create innovators all across Africa. So it'll be wonderful. Yes, Adeni says, thank you, sir. Laurie says, thank you. I'm sure there are more people who will send thank you messages. I want to say thank you very much. You took us.
I'm sorry I couldn't make Laurie's presentation. I look forward to it, but again, because of the conflict,
yes,
we had an emergency conference.
We had an emergency, guys, at his office. Imagine, and he was supposed to speak earlier, but because of that emergency, he had to shift himself to this last slot. And let me tell you, even with all that, you see how he was still pressing. He even called me several times, a regular call, saying, I'm trying to get on, See that persistence, see that desire. It's amazing. That's why I say be like him. And more people are saying thank you. Yes, Ademola says thank you. He says he's also, Ademola said he's also
great.
Look at that. See, no wonder, great minds think alike. Yes. This is amazing.
That's good. Glad to hear that.
Yes, it's amazing. Great stuff. So thank you again, sir. Oh yes, thank you, Auntie Dedolu. Thank you. She just signed on. She's telling us great job. Thank you again. Thank you, guys. Be like Victor. Share the replay with other people. Let me see anybody else. Yes, she's telling you well done, sir, too. Share the replay. Let's have more people who are creating this ripple effects across Nigeria, across Africa, Rwanda, Liberia, Ghana. Let me start thinking more of our names. Kenya, where else do I need? Benin Republic. Come on, girls, bring more names. Niger Republic, Chad, wherever. We need more of this ripple effect. Let's stop having this, when we turn on CNN or turn on, we're constantly seeing negative things about ourselves. Let's start seeing wonderful things so that we're all rejoicing. And our children inherit a land that is filled with so much promise, and they're bursting forth all their potential. Right, sir? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, Tanzania. Yes, Tanzania. Oh, you've been there. Okay, I guess that's why you mentioned it. Okay, thank you, sir. And we officially call this a wrap. Thank you for everyone for signing on. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's a very, very rare privilege. And I want to say you are doing a very wonderful work. And people like you will make life a lot easier. And I like the way things are happening in Lagos. Lagos, in my opinion, is the pace setter for Nigeria. There are a lot of evidence and things to show for that. You see Ebola, even in the era of COVID-19. And I don't know how many states is dedicating special attention to STEM education, which is our present and future. So I'm really impressed, and you can count on us, and we can also leverage on the network we have to drive any of your initiatives. Yeah.
Fantastic. I was going to reach out after all this is done, but when you kept mentioning that network, I was writing notes. I was writing notes. We're going to come back and tap that network because we're going to need help. So thank you. We're grateful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the last parting word. Bye, sir. Bye, everyone. All right, it's a wrap. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for staying tuned in. Share the links of these videos with your friends so that we can keep this conversation going on how we can create more innovative thinkers and we can create more solutions to our challenges. I'm not going to call them problems, to our challenges. Goodbye.